Chapter 972. Lin Che said, "All right, come here first, Nian Nian." Gu Shinian still stood there without moving. Gu Jingzi said, "Don't you want to see how Yun Yun and her father are getting along? Let's go take a look." Gu Shinian looked up. Gu Jingzi said, "Let's go. It's going to be the new year soon." Gu Shinian pursed his lips and thought for a moment. Then he shook his head and nodded in agreement. Gu Shinian was so angry that he ordered his men to stop. Gu Jingzi glanced at the people around him. The security guards of the Gu family had all left. On the other side, the club's security guards and Blackhawk subordinates let out a sigh of relief. They watched Gu Shinian walk to Gu Jingzi and Lin Che. Lin Che picked him up and started to teach him a lesson. Gu Shinian looked like a kid. The family of 3 left. After a night of turmoil, the club slowly recovered, and the people who had come to watch went back to celebrate the new year with peace of mind. Everyone was just sighing. Look at how rich people educate their children. They directly came to PK and almost got into a fight. This early education was really shocking. However, the fact that a rebellious child ran away from home caused such a sensation was truly an eye-opener for the others. Usually, when other people's children caused trouble, they would just beat them up. However, when the children of the Gu family caused trouble, they ganged up on them. It was definitely an unforgettable scene. At Mu Firen's house, Gu Jingzi and Lin Che brought Gu Shinian to the door and looked inside. The family of 3 was so lovely. Mu Firen was making dumplings while Blackhawk was playing with Yun Yun. Yun Yun smiled happily, and her eyes narrowed into slits. Gu Shinian couldn't help but curl up the corners of his lips. Just then, Mu Firen raised her head and saw the people outside. Surprised, she put down the dumplings in her hands and went to open the door. "Lin Che, Mr. Gu, and little Nian Nian, why are you all here?" Yun Yun ran out and shouted happily when she saw Nian Nian. "Brother Nian Nian, you're here too. I was wondering why you didn't celebrate the new year with us." Gu Shinian patted Yun Yun's head. Blackhawk came out from the back too. Gu Jingzi looked inside and said, "We're here to take a look." Lin Che also looked up and said, "Yeah, because I thought about how we usually spend it together, but this year you guys are going to spend it alone. I also feel very uncomfortable." Mu Firen smiled warmly. She hugged Lin Che and said, "I know you all care about me, but it's not a big deal. Besides, Mr. Mo has already been here." She looked at Mo Jinyan. Mo Jinyan looked at the 3 of them. "What do we do now? I didn't give you any dumplings." Gu Jingzi said, "Forget it. We still have to go to the Gu mansion for the festival." When she heard that they were leaving, Yun Yun was very reluctant. She pulled Nian Nian and said, "Brother Nian Nian, are you leaving? But it's going to be the new year soon." Nian Nian looked at Yun Yun and could not bear to part with her. The 2 of them had been like twins since they were young, and they would always be together. Even during the new year, they would be together. This was the first time they were separated, and they were very unhappy. Lin Che looked at the 2 little people. He didn't know if it was because he was emotionally sensitive due to pregnancy, but his heart ached when he looked at them. Gu Jingzi looked down at the soft look in Lin Che's eyes. He raised his head and said, "You guys should go to the Gu mansion together." Mu Firen looked at Gu Jingzi in surprise. Lin Che was also a little surprised. Can we?" Gu Jingzi said, "Why not? It's the festival anyway. It's just for fun. It's good for everyone to go together." He Ying said, "There's no need to go through so much trouble." Gu Jingzi said, "You don't have to worry. Since you're Lin Che's big brother and Nian Nian's uncle, it's reasonable for you to go." He Ying and Lin Che looked at each other. They felt a little helpless about their current identities. Gu Shinian pulled Yun Yun. "Let's go then. There's a lot of fun there. I can bring you there to play." Yun Yun was still obedient. She raised her head and looked at her mother. But Lin Che had already pulled Mu Firen over. "All right, let's not waste time. Let's go. It's going to be the new year if we don't go now." But Lin Che said, "It's okay. There are a lot of people there today. We can find a place to gather alone. There will also be fireworks. We don't have to care about others then. No one will care about us anyway. There are so many people and we don't know each other." Mu Firen had no choice. Seeing that Yun Yun was really reluctant to leave Nian Nian, they could only agree for the sake of the 2 children. Gu Jingzi and his family left first. Behind them, He Ying also left with the mother and daughter. Soon, they arrived at the Gu mansion. It was indeed a lively place. Many of the Gu family's relatives had come to celebrate the festival. It was the first time that Mu Firen had come to the territory of such an ancient big family. Only when she was there did she feel that this place was really grand. Looking at the huge yard, she felt that it was very unusual. Haing didn't care. He followed them in and took care of Yin dutifully and attentively. Mu Firen looked inside and said, "Thanks to Lin Che, it's my first time participating in a top rich and powerful family's festival." Although Haing was disdainful, he had to admit that this was the oldest rich and powerful family in Country C. They had more rules, and things were also very complicated. He looked at the yard and said, "Follow me in later. It's chaotic outside. Don't run around." Okay. She followed behind Haing. Although it was a strange place, she didn't feel nervous because someone was leading her. After entering, Gu Jingze looked at Gu Xinian and asked him, "You haven't told me who gave you the job." Only now did Lin Che remember. "That's right, Gu Xinian. Hurry up and tell me the truth. Just what happened today?" Gu Shinian's face stiffened. "It's a new year. Don't talk about these troublesome things." Seeing that Gu Xinian was about to run, Lin Che pulled him back. "Gu Xinian, this isn't an ordinary thing. You have to tell me what happened," Gu Jingze said from behind. "If you don't tell me, it's only a matter of time before I find out. Why don't you just tell me?" Gu Xinian stood there and said, It's the Dark Team." "Dark Team?" Lin Che didn't understand. He looked up at Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze's eyes sharpened. "Your grandfather gave the Dark Team to you?" "Grandfather? Gu Qigong?" Lin Che seemed to have understood immediately. "Did Gu Qigong give these people to Gu Xinian?" Lin Che looked up and asked Gu Jingze, Are these people very powerful?" Gu Jingze was still staring at Gu Xinian. When he heard Lin Che's question, he said solemnly, "The Dark Team is the Gu family's elite force. They are specially trained to investigate all kinds of secret matters and work in the dark. Don't you think they're powerful?" Chapter 973. Lin Che was even more surprised. So powerful. She looked at Gu Xinian and felt that his education was different from what she had imagined. How could it be like this? Because he was from the Gu family, he had to experience different things from others. She knew this, but she had never thought that he would have to be so different from a young age. Gu Xinian stood there and looked at Lin Che. Lin Che was both surprised and worried. Such a little kid already had his own bodyguard. That what kind of world was the Gu family in? She couldn't accept it. Looking at Gu Xinian, she couldn't imagine what it would be like for a kid like him to order others around. Gu Jingze said to Lin Che, "All right, you don't have to worry about him. If he can use the bodyguards to investigate Black Eagle, he should know that he can use them too." Yeah, he already knew how to use the bodyguards at such a young age. She had felt weird when she first got a bodyguard. Okay? But Gu Xinian was obviously more used to it than she was. Lin Che really couldn't accept it. He could only think speechlessly in his heart. Could it be that this was the importance of a bloodline? Was it because the Gu family's blood flowed in his body, so he naturally had an instinctive ability toward these things? Gu Jingze said, "All right, let him go first." Seeing that Yin had come, Lin Che asked him to play with Yin first. Gu Xinian immediately ran away, as if he had been pardoned. Gu Jingze said, "Since father gave it to him, let him keep it. The bodyguards trained by father are naturally top-notch and will be beneficial to him." Lin Che tilted his head. So Yin is destined not to be like an ordinary kid, going to kindergarten, primary school, junior high. Such an ordinary life. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che. Look at how high-spirited he is now. Even if you want him to be ordinary, he might not be willing. Lin Che curled his lips. The Gu family is so perverted. Gu Jingze smiled. "You're also a member of the Gu family now." She said, "I'm not as perverted as you." Gu Jingze said, "The Liu family might not be that good either. Look at Liu Beichen's personality." Oh yeah, she was also a Liu family member now. But she had forgotten. She said, Shoo, I'm different from the Liu family." Gu Jingze said, "In fact, your character is similar to Liu Beichen's." "What? Why didn't I notice?" Gu Jingze said, "For example, his IQ is a little low." Lin Che immediately chased after Gu Jingze and started fighting. At first, Gu Jingze wanted to run, but she realized that her body was weak now, so she stopped running. She punched Gu Jingze one fist after another and didn't stop until she was tired. Behind them, Haiying saw this scene and said with a smile, "Yeah, only my sister would dare to hit Gu Jingze like this." At this moment, seeing Lin Che and Gu Jingze together, he felt a little proud. This woman who could subdue Gu Jingze was his sister. Mu Firen looked at Black Hawk and said, "That's strange. How did she become your sister?" Black Hawk looked at Mu Firen. "Why? Is there anything wrong with her treating me as her sister?" Mu Firen lowered her head subconsciously as her lips curled up into a smile. Mu Firen's expression seemed to be asking him what was wrong with her. This man also had the expression of a child who couldn't get candy. Mu Firen said, "That's not what I meant. You're good, although people always say." She let her guard down and blurted out these words. Black Hawk stopped immediately and looked at Mu Firen. "What do they say about me?" Mu Firen said embarrassedly, "Nothing." Black Hawk stared at her as if he wouldn't look away if she didn't say it. Mu Firen could only lower her head and murmur, "I just said, you're very powerful." Black Hawk sneered, "I think they should say that I'm a ruthless person who kills without batting an eye. I'm ferocious, and you don't know how scary I am." Mu Firen blushed. That seemed to be what he meant, as if it was scarier than that. He was the top killer because countless people had died in his hands, and anyone who offended him would suffer a fate worse than death. Anyway, he made it sound like he was the king of hell. Mu Firen had heard such rumors ever since she got to know him. In the past, when she didn't know Black Hawk, she wouldn't care about these rumors. However, when he suddenly entered her life, she quietly kept the rumors in her heart. The Black Hawk grabbed her hand. Mu Firen had to look up at him. Looking straight into his eyes, he said faintly, "Then do you think I'm like what the rumors say?" Mu Firen thought about it and shook her head. "No." Black Hawk said, "Really? Are you telling the truth?" "Of course. I have nothing to lie to you. I think you're a good person. You're not that bad. As for the rumors, I have a lot of them too. I've been in the entertainment industry for so many years, so of course I know that sometimes rumors are ridiculous." Mu Firen really thought that he was a good person. This kind of thinking occasionally shocked her. Was she crazy to think that an assassin was a good person? However, she didn't know why, but in her mind, Black Hawk always behaved well. He was kind to Yun and gentle to her. He had never been fierce at all. Maybe there was something wrong with the rumors. Perhaps it was because of his identity. After all, he was someone who had been in the underworld before, which was why everyone felt that he was scary. If she didn't know the real him, just hearing this rumor, she would probably feel that he was very scary. Black Hawk looked down at her, almost looking into her eyes. Then, what if the rumors are true? Mu Firen was speechless. But Black Hawk looked ahead. "I only treat people who I think are worth it. I never waste time on people who aren't worth it. So, maybe the rumors are true." If the rumors were true, was he really that bad? Hadn't she seen his bad side? Wait, what did he just say? He only treated people who he thought were worth it. Was he talking about her? Mu Firen's face turned red again. Chapter 974. However, after Haiying finished speaking, he raised his head and looked at Gu Jingze as if nothing had happened. Then he walked past him. Mu Firen was left behind with a flushed face. Her thoughts were running wild, and her heart was in a mess. Black Hawk walked over with his hands behind his back. "Well, the Gu family's old house looks good." Gu Jingze clapped his hands. "You can do it even if you want to." Black Hawk said, "How can it be? I remember your house is hundreds of years old. How can I get such an old place?" Lin Che asked, "Really? It's been that long?" Black Hawk said, "Don't you know?" "I don't know. I've never come here before." Black Hawk said, "The Gu family is a very old family. This land is passed down from generation to generation. It's said that the feng shui here is very good, which is why the Gu family hasn't declined for so many years." Gu Jingze said with his hands behind his back, "This has nothing to do with feng shui. It's a matter of intelligence." Black Hawk snorted. "I'm complimenting you. Don't be so narcissistic, okay?" Gu Jingze said, "If you live here, no matter how good your feng shui is, you won't be as good as you are now. Hey, you're looking down on me. Gu Jingze looked at him. I didn't think so at first, but since you and Lin Shay are brother and sister, your IQ should be about the same. She's so stupid, so you can't be much smarter. Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze. The brother and sister shouted at the same time and stared at the arrogant man. Mu Firen watched from the side and couldn't help but laugh. I didn't think so at first, but now it seems. You and your sister are a little alike. When you stare at people, your eyes are the same. Mu Firen stood beside Lin Shay. It turns out that this place is so old. No wonder it looks so rich. Lin Shay said, I just found out about this. I just feel that this place is very big. Yes, it's big and it looks beautiful. It looks different from ordinary rich families. No wonder it's a top rich family. Yeah, I also feel that being in the Gu family is different from being in the Lin family. Lin Shay said, but the Lin family is a small family, so of course it can't be compared. Yes, even some of the rich families I've seen can't compare. Thanks to you, I've finally seen what it means to be a top rich family. I really didn't have any concept before. Lin Shay looked at her. What do you think of Blackhawk? Mu Firen didn't expect Lin Shay to suddenly ask such a question. Lin Shay also thought of Yin Yun because of Gu Shernyan's matter. He felt that it would be good if Yin Yun could reunite with her father as soon as possible. But looking at it now, they really didn't seem to have any intention of acknowledging each other. Lin Shay couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Mu Firen, on the other hand, felt that Hei Ying was too close to her. She was so close that others had noticed something was wrong. Mu Firen looked at her shyly. Fortunately, it was nighttime, so her flushed face would not be easily noticed. Why did you suddenly? I'm just asking. Mu Firen looked at him. He's your brother. I can't say bad things about him, can I? Lin Shay said with a smile. Hey, don't think that he can't tell me just because of this. We just started to get to know each other. I also want to know how others feel about him. Hearing this, Mu Firen said faintly, I think. He's quite good. He's a very good person. He's so good to us orphans and widows, and he's not bad to others. Although he just said that he wasn't a good person, Mu Firen felt that a real bad person wouldn't say that he was a bad person. Lin Shay looked at her. It seemed that she had a good impression of Blackhawk. Lin Shay couldn't tell whether she wanted them to be together or not. If they were to be together, it would naturally be good for Union. However, he was worried that Mu Firen would blame Blackhawk if she found out about the past. He didn't know if Blackhawk was so nice to her because he really liked Mu Firen. If it was really because of Yin Yun, it would be really meaningless for the two of them to be together. So Lin Shay was really conflicted. One was her brother who she had just picked up, and the other was her best friend. She really hoped that both of them would be well. At this time, fireworks began to be set off in the Gu family's courtyard. It was almost the new year, and the fireworks were getting brighter and brighter. Lin Shay looked up and said happily, Wow, it's so beautiful. Gu Jingze stood next to her and gently protected her body. Behind them, Blackhawk and Mu Firen also stood up. They looked up at the sky and watched the fireworks bloom. In front of them, Yun Yun and Yin Yin were dancing and laughing. This scene was even more beautiful. It was the first time that Mu Firen had such a lively New Year, and she couldn't help but smile. This New Year's Eve was very successful. The celebrities on the Spring Festival Gala were another hot topic. During this period, Lin Shay was resting, so he didn't care much about the company. Abai also came back and was busy at the company. Lin Shay had just gotten pregnant, so she was taken care of at home every day. Whenever she went out, she would be followed, so she was too lazy to go out. As for Gu Shinian, Lin Shay felt that Gu Shinian was even busier than her. He left early and returned late every day, and he didn't come back at all. Fortunately, she asked Gu Shinian, Nian Nian, do you not want me to have other babies? Gu Shinian replied sincerely, Anyway, I'm not the one taking care of them. You're the one taking care of them. I don't care if you have them or not. Lin Shay said, Then what if they're your younger siblings? Don't you feel anything? Then I hope it's a younger brother, he said. Lin Shay asked curiously why. Because. Gu Shinian said, I don't like girls. They're clingy and annoying, and I have to take care of them. Lin Shay felt that she was going to start worrying about whether he would be able to find a wife in the future. However, after talking to him about this, Lin Che was sure that he wouldn't be estranged from her because of the child. After knowing that Gu Shinian had a bodyguard since he was young and had his own power, Lin Che slowly accepted the fact that Gu Shinian was even busier than her. Anyway, he was destined to be extraordinary in the future. It would probably be difficult for her to suppress him now, so she might as well let nature take its course. Fortunately, he was still young, so he definitely wouldn't cause any big trouble. After the new year, Lin Che began to face a new problem. The movie was about to be released, and she had to start a wave of promotional activities. She would probably be busy for a while pregnant. Chapter 975. Lin Che had been reading the pregnancy instructions for the past few days. Although she had been pregnant once, she had to go out to work this time. She had been resting at home before and had never gone out, so she did not have many requirements. But this time, she had to put on makeup, dress up, and wear shoes. She felt that she had to pay more attention to what she had to pay attention to. Everyone knew that Lin Che's movie was going to be released. Before the movie was released, there was already news that she was likely to participate in the Golden Name Award for Best Actress, so everyone was looking forward to it. After the new year, the last episode of the reality show was aired. The program's viewership ratings were still skyrocketing. On the last day, everyone went to a party to celebrate the viewership ratings. The company had prepared a special program to mark the end of production. The next episode would also be a special program to review the previous episodes and promote the next season's show. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but Lin Che felt nervous when she thought about the movie that was going to be released. It was her first movie after her comeback. At this moment, Yu Minmin suddenly called and said that she had just returned from vacation. These few days, Yu Minmin had been emotionally unstable during her pregnancy, so Gu Jingming had brought her overseas for a vacation. She had just returned and spent the new year abroad, but her family did not say anything. After all, the two of them wanted to spend time alone, and there was nothing to say. As soon as Yu Minmin returned, she went straight to Gu Mansion. When Lin Che heard that Yu Minmin had arrived, he quickly went out to welcome her. Yu Minmin's belly was already big, and she could not even cover it up. She was dressed loosely and looked rounder when she came in. Her skin was still fair and tender, and she looked good. When Lin Che saw Yu Minmin, he could not help but tease her. "What's going on? Mr. President is finally willing to let you out." Yu Minmin pursed her lips and looked at Lin Che. "I heard that you were pregnant when I was abroad. Wow, not bad. It seems that you are quite efficient. You got pregnant so quickly." Lin Che pouted and looked at her. They had not seen each other for a long time, and they were very close. They quickly went into the living room and chatted. The servant brewed some tea for pregnant women. Yu Minmin looked at her belly and said, "It's still early. Do you still have to go to work as usual?" "Yeah, the director told me that there will be fewer arrangements, but there are still some important places that I have to go to." "Okay, it's not a big month for the Golden Name Awards. You can go to receive the award." "Oh, what award? You might not even get it," Lin Che said. Yu Minmin said, "We'll leave it to fate when the time comes. Why think so much about it now?" Lin Che looked at her belly and raised his eyebrows. "Did you see if it's a boy or a girl?" Yu Minmin rubbed her belly. "It's a boy. I just saw it." "Is that so? Congratulations. There's going to be another naughty kid in the house." They did not care if it was a boy. Yu Minmin said, "It doesn't matter. Gu Jingming likes boys. He thinks that girls need to be controlled too much and boys can be left alone." Lin Che said, "I think Mr. President must be a good father." Yu Minmin also smiled. In fact, she felt the same way. Just look at how careful he was with her now. She knew that he was a very attentive man. When he became a father in the future, he would also be very attentive to his children. Lin Che said, "Then, can you come out and walk around now? Did Mr. President allow it?" Yu Minmin said, "It's been a few months, and I'm still not allowed to go out. Am I going to suffocate for 10 months? Lin Che chuckled. "If you don't tell me, I think Mr. President will make you hold it in for 10 months. He's too nervous, but he has agreed. I can go out to work. I'll go back to the company in a few days. Remember to give me any work you have." She really felt that she was about to grow hair from staying at home. She also felt that she was a little silly. Therefore, Yu Minmin was eager to go back to work. Lin Che sighed. You can't stay idle. Can't you be the wife of the president? You won't be beaten up by Mr. President, will you? Of course not, Yu Minmin said. Yu Minmin said, I was too naive back then. In the past, when I was too busy, I always thought that it would be great if I could marry a tycoon one day. I could be a rich wife at home every day and do nothing. At that time, I never thought that I would really marry a tycoon one day. Yeah, he's not just a rich man. He's so big, Lin Che said. Yu Minmin said, yeah, it's quite fantastical, but now that I'm really staying at home, I feel like I'm not fated to do that. I still want to work. I feel like I'm not a human anymore. I feel like I'm an animal. Really, do you think I'm crazy? Lin Che laughed and said, so Gu Jingming felt that you weren't in a good mood because you were always talking like that? In the past, Gu Jingming wanted her to rest at home more, so he spent a lot of time with her every day. However, Yu Minmin was still in low spirits. Gu Jingming had no choice but to take Yu Minmin abroad. Yu Minmin told Gu Jingming about this. Gu Jingming felt that it was more important for her to be happy, so he agreed to let her come back to work. Sure enough, people like them couldn't stay idle. Hearing that she could come back to work, Yu Minmin's worries immediately disappeared, and she came back in high spirits. Gu Jingming could only agree with her helplessly, however, he doubled the number of presidential guards that he gave to Yu Minmin. Yu Minmin said, although I'm back, let I be your agent first. Otherwise, if I, a pregnant woman, were to be the agent of another pregnant woman, people would laugh at me when I go out. Okay, it doesn't matter who is the agent. We can still discuss things together. Of course, the timing of your movie's release is very good. Albai doesn't have much experience in publicity, so let me do it. Before the movie is released, I will help you arrange the necessary publicity and try to match the ending of a reality show. At that time, we will definitely be able to move a lot of box office. As expected, Yu Minmin immediately became excited when she talked about work. The two of them discussed in the living room for the whole afternoon, from the list of people participating in the Golden Name Awards, the situation of the competitors, the movie publicity, and the following work arrangements. However, they also knew that after Lin Che's belly grew bigger, she would have to leave the screen for a period of time until she gave birth to the child. Chapter 976. When Gu Jingzi came back, Yu Minmin had just left. Seeing that Yu Minmin's belly was already very big, Gu Jingzi looked at Lin Che. Your belly will be this big in the future, right? Lin Che said, yeah. Isn't it scary? Gu Jingzi nodded her head. Why would it be? I think it's quite interesting. Really? What's interesting about it? It's hard to imagine someone as small as you being so big. But will that be a problem? Won't your stomach hurt? Gu Jingzi looked at Lin Che worriedly. Lin Che smiled. Silly. How can it hurt? Gu Jingzi was very worried and helped Lin Che in. Lin Che said, I saw Nian going out these few days. What is he doing? Gu Jingzi said, probably going out to play. Lin Che looked incredulous. Gu Jingzi said, all right, what's the use of caring about him? Gu Jingzi naturally knew that Nian was still training these few days. Ever since he ran away from home during the New Year, he had been more diligent than before. It seemed like that incident had stimulated his desire to become stronger. Gu Jingzi held Lin Che in his arms. He wants to be strong. That's what every boy wants. Just let him be. I'll keep an eye on him. I won't let him cause any trouble that he can't handle. Lin Che said he used to cause trouble when he had nothing to do. Luckily, he was alone at that time, so he couldn't cause too much trouble. But now, he has a bunch of people following him. Sigh. I'm worried that once he causes trouble now, it won't be a small matter. Gu Jingzi ruffled her hair. I'm here. Lin Che could only look at him with a pout. Oh yeah, I have to rush to work tomorrow. Gu Jingzi frowned. Okay. Lin Che pinched the front of his shirt and looked at him fawningly. Don't worry, I know how to protect myself. I won't go to crowded places, and I won't let anyone squeeze me. I have people around me, and Dongzi and the others are so skilled. I'll definitely be fine. Gu Jingzi couldn't stand her acting like a spoiled child. Looking at her fawning smile and her extremely flirtatious look, he really wanted to pinch her mouth. She was definitely sent by the heavens to punish him. Otherwise, why would he be so unprincipled in front of her? He touched the tip of her nose and looked at her. Okay, be careful. Don't worry. Lin Che knew that he was worried about him, so he said softly to him. The next day, after the new year, the celebrity schedules were endless. There weren't many people like Lin Che who went home to celebrate the new year with peace of mind. Lin Che appeared for the first time after the new year. Her waist hadn't straightened yet, and she was still dressed neatly. No one could tell that she was pregnant at all. Today, they were here to participate in the recording of a reality show special. The popularity of the embarrassing tour made the atmosphere very lively. There was an endless stream of people, and the reporters and media were all gathered together. The fans were still screaming outside. As soon as Lin Che got out of the car, he felt the warm atmosphere and was a little scared for a moment. Abai, who came with him, helped Lin Che out of the car and said as they walked, "Not bad, not bad. You caught up with Shui Yang's fans." Lin Che smiled and looked at Abai. "Okay, you never forget to praise Shui Yang." Abai's face turned red. "Nonsense. Male artists have more fans than female artists to begin with. It's not like you don't know that they're crazier than female artists." Yes, yes, yes. Lin Che still deliberately said ambiguously. Lin Che naturally understood. After all, there were more fangirls. Therefore, Lin Che knew that it was a little unexpected that there were so many people at the scene. It could be seen that reality shows were indeed very popular, and they were indeed in the midst of their popularity. It was definitely a great compliment for her fans to be comparable to a male celebrity. Moreover, it was a hot little fresh meat like Shui Yang. The event was very happy. Because of the sudden popularity, everyone was also very excited. In the end, Lin Che said that he wanted to take the opportunity to promote the movie that was about to be released. The few men also said that they would definitely help. At the event, a reporter took the opportunity to ask, after the show was broadcast, the ratings in online broadcasts were so much higher than Travel Together. "Are you surprised?" The host replied, "Why would I be surprised? I feel that since we filmed it with all our heart, anything is possible." Everyone naturally knew that they couldn't win against him, so they turned to ask Lin Che, "Have you seen Yang Ling recently?" Lin Che smiled. "No, I'm at home for the new year. I haven't seen her for no reason." Everyone knew that Yang Ling had just argued with Lin Che's studio. After that, she didn't get off the show and had her commercial changed. It was really a tragic argument. Everyone said those two people said that they had a conflict a while ago. Is the conflict still there? Lin Che continued to smile. "What conflict? I don't even know her, so it can't be considered a conflict. As for the studio, that's the company's problem. It has nothing to do with me." Then, did you know that Yang Ling was nominated for the Golden Name Award for Best Supporting Actress? Lin Che said, "Really? Congratulations to her. The nominees for the Golden Name Award haven't been announced yet, so I didn't know. You guys sure get the news fast." Indeed, Lin Che didn't expect Yang Ling to be nominated for the Golden Name Award. Thinking about seeing her at the awards ceremony, Lin Che felt disgusted, but there was nothing he could do. She didn't reject anyone. No matter what Yang Ling was plotting or what she was going to do, she didn't have to be afraid. She would deal with whatever came her way. She had been in the entertainment industry for so many years and had gradually gotten used to it. When the show ended, everyone didn't forget to support Lin Che's new movie. The host said first, "Hey, reporters, don't leave yet. Our goddess's movie is going to be released in a few days. Aren't you going to ask a few more questions?" Lin Che's face turned red from the teasing. The others also started to talk about it, praising the movie to the skies, which made Lin Che feel very grateful. The show finally ended. Lin Che was very careful along the way, but when she got up at the end, she accidentally tripped over a reporter and almost fell. Fortunately, Dongzi caught her at this moment and quickly helped her to the side. Dongzi immediately grabbed the reporter's collar angrily and glared fiercely at the reporter's face. The reporter was also very frightened. He quickly said, I'm sorry, Lin Che. I didn't do it on purpose." Lin Che looked at the pale reporter and waved for Dongzi to let go. "Forget it, it's okay." Only then did Dongzi let go of the reporter. "Are you okay, miss?" It's okay. Let's go." Lin Che looked back at the reporter before walking down. When they came down, because they didn't know that Lin Che was pregnant, they didn't think much of it. They just looked at Lin Che in admiration. Lin Che, where did your company hire bodyguards? They're really skilled. Chapter 977. Lin Che laughed dryly. This? She couldn't say that she was specially trained. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, the company recruited her. Compared to our bodyguard, she's really... I can't say. She can't even stop a fan. All right, look at how many fans you have. Another person laughed. Among us, Lin Che has the most fans. If her bodyguard isn't strong, he'll be swallowed up at any time. Lin Che smiled as he looked at them. Don't be mean to me. I've always had as many fans as anti-fans. We can't get any anti-fans, even if we beg. It's okay. Male artists don't have as many anti-fans as us female artists. Everyone laughed. Although they praised that Lin Che's equipment and facilities were better than theirs, men were not as narrow-minded as women. Therefore, they only praised and envied Lin Che for a while. They didn't really take it to heart. Therefore, Lin Che also felt that it would be more relaxing to work with male artists. After the event ended, Lin Che and Bai went down together. Bai said, "That person didn't mean to trip you just now, did she?" Lin Che said in surprise, "How is that possible? Nothing is impossible. Maybe she knows your identity." Lin Che said, "You make it sound so scary. It's like you're in a movie." Bai said, "You have to get used to it. You're Mrs. Gu. Mrs. Gu's life is definitely more exciting than a movie." Lin Che thought about it, and it seemed to be true that before she met Gu Jingze, she had only been bullied a little, but after meeting him, she had really seen everything. But I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think she's acting. Who knows? Anyway, it's better to be careful. I think Gu Jingze's concerns are not unreasonable. In the future, it's better to participate less in these kinds of events. Bai said. Lin Che said, "I think so too." But Bai immediately said, "But it's so popular now. If you go out, there will definitely be a lot of people chasing after you. It seems that there's no way to avoid it." That was true. Nowadays, fans would follow the announcements. This kind of popular scene would probably continue for a while, and there was no way to avoid it. Lin Che said, "That's nothing. I just found out that Yang Ling was nominated for the Golden Name Awards too." Bai said, "I just heard about it. There was no internal news about her before, but she has a lot of connections. Maybe she thought of another way to be nominated." Bai looked at Lin Che. Seeing that the reporters are busy asking questions today, it seems that she is preparing to put on a show. However, we are not afraid. Let's see who has the biggest momentum tomorrow. Sure enough, when they returned to the company, they saw Yang Ling's team posting that Yang Ling had been nominated for the Best Supporting Actress award in her first movie. The article praised Yang Ling as a beauty that was hard to come by in many years. Yu Minmin was there too. She sneered and said, "It's hard to imagine that this kid used to be so simple and honest. How can he be so good at bragging now?" Bai said, "What do we do now? Who cares about her? If we announce that we've been nominated for Best Actress, we'll be flattering her. Let her be happy for now. If she really wins the award, it'll be because she's amazing." Bai listened to Yu Minmin. She was more experienced. However, the news that Lin Che was almost tripped by someone immediately reached the ears of the big boss. Gu Jingze slammed the table. "How do you take care of her?" The people behind him were shocked. There were too many people at that time. "I don't care if there were many people or not. There are many people over there, so send more people to keep an eye on them. Those who went this time, come back and receive your punishment. I want to see who dares to be careless next time." When everyone saw that Gu Jingze had said so, they quickly went back to receive their punishment one by one. Gu Jingze couldn't bear to blame Lin Che. These people had suffered one by one. Fortunately, they knew the importance of this child and the seriousness of the matter if something happened, so they didn't have any complaints about the punishment. When Lin Che returned home, she saw that the servants were even more attentive. She wondered what had happened. The servant helped her pour water and put it down with a careful look, which made Lin Che very suspicious. So she quickly pulled the servant over and asked, "What happened at home?" The servant said, "No, nothing. There must be something. Tell me." Lin Che pulled the servant and refused to let go. "Really?" Lin Che looked at her with a straight face. "Are you going to tell me?" Or should I ask your husband? But after I ask, you know what the consequences are, right? Gu Jingze was emotionally unstable now. If he got angry, they would be finished again. Yes, yes, I'll tell you. Madam, don't be angry. She quickly told Gu Jingze what had happened. She said that Gu Jingze had asked everyone to come back to receive their punishment. When Lin Che heard this, he felt that it wasn't that serious. He seemed to be too nervous. She put down the cup and walked to the study, where she could hear him on the phone. I want to ask for the reporter's exact location. You don't have to worry about anything else. I just don't want her to appear anywhere near my wife. It's best if she doesn't appear in Country C. Lin Che quickly pushed the door open and walked in. Gu Jingze, what are you doing? Gu Jingze looked at her. Why are you here? Gu Jingze put down the phone and walked around the table. Lin Che said, Gu Jingze, don't make things too big. Gu Jingze said, it's not a big deal. How is that possible? You're the great CEO, Gu. You personally went to ask for the reporter's location. How is that not a big deal? If the reporter heard about it, she would be scared out of her wits. I heard that you've personally asked for any place in Country C. Let me ask you, which place would dare to accept her? Gu Jingze said calmly, what does this have to do with me? I just don't want to change someone's fate because of such a small matter. I'll feel bad if I do. Gu Jingze looked at her. You're too kind. This isn't kindness. I don't care what happens to someone who doesn't treat me well. I won't ask you to let her go, but this person only made a small mistake and was chased out just like that. Of course I'll feel bad. And those security guards, they did their job. Otherwise, I would have fallen today. Gu Jingze said they should have considered all the consequences, but they didn't, so you punish them? Don't be like this, Gu Jingze. Don't punish them, okay? Lin Che leaned on him again and raised her head to look at him. There was a hint of coquettishness in her gaze. Chapter 978. Gu Jingze frowned. Lin Che was still fooling around behind them. It's true. I think it's a little too serious. How about I just find them with some salary? Gu Jingze turned around and looked at Lin Che. Silly. Lin Che pinched the front of his shirt and helped him adjust the collar of his shirt. Then I'll take that as a yes. Gu Jingze shook his head. I think they've been spoiled by you. Knowing that you're my weakness, they'll hide behind you in the future when something happens. Let's see what you can do. Lin Che stuck out her tongue. I won't care if it has nothing to do with me. But isn't it related to me? I don't want them to be punished because of me. After all, I was careless. Lin Che rubbed against his body. Gu Jingze was stunned. He could feel her soft body approaching him with her unique fragrance. He hurriedly closed his eyes and stepped aside. Lin Che noticed. She blinked and looked at him. Why are you hiding from me? Gu Jingze said, it's nothing. Hey, you're really hiding from me. Lin Che walked towards him as if she had discovered a new continent. Gu Jingze moved away, and she quickly moved closer. Gu Jingze, are you afraid of me? Come on. Don't be afraid. Gu Jingze said, don't ask for trouble. Who's asking for trouble? Lin Che moved closer to him. Gu Jingze grabbed her hands and looked at her. He hugged her body, lifted her by her hips, and put her on the table. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che. Lin Che was stunned. She felt his body heat up as he moved closer. He smelled her scent but didn't dare to move closer. That look made her heart ache. She said, Gu Jingze, are you having a hard time holding it in? Gu Jingze's Adam's apple bobbed, and there was already some sweat on it. If you know, then don't move, he said unhappily. Lin Che felt a little guilty in his heart. Although this had nothing to do with her, she was pregnant with a child. For the sake of the child, she couldn't do anything to him. This was common sense. She had also heard of some men who, when their wives were pregnant, couldn't help but touch their wives. When their wives were unwilling, they even felt that their wives were neglecting them and took the opportunity to have an affair. At that time, she felt that it was inconceivable. She thought that these men were really animals that only thought with the lower half of their bodies. They didn't even think about their wives and children. Although there might not be an accident, what if there was? At the very least, he had to listen to the doctor's advice. For the first 3 months and the last 3 months, he couldn't do this kind of intense exercise. She remembered that she once had a classmate who lost her child because of this. In the end, the man didn't even realize it. He felt that he didn't do anything, but the child was lost. When he asked the girl about it, the girl could only cry and say that she was afraid that if she didn't let her husband touch her, her husband would cheat on her and find someone else. So, she could only let him be. Lin Shaye wouldn't think that way. Pregnancy was a matter between the two of them. If he despised her because of this man, then what was the point of having such a man? However, her Gu Jingze wasn't such a person at all. On the contrary, because he was worried, he was careful every day. Even if he had a hard time holding it in at night, he definitely wouldn't do anything too drastic. Even so, he insisted on hugging her to sleep every night. He didn't do anything and was willing to do it. Thinking of this, Lin Shaye felt guilty. She felt that he was holding it in so hard, but she didn't seem to be able to do anything. Lin Shaye said, "Then what do we do now? How about I help you?" "No need." He closed his eyes. "It'll be fine in a while. Just let me look at you." He looked at Lin Shaye quietly and reached out to caress her cheek. It was really strange. She was clearly pregnant, but she didn't use any skincare products. Yet she still looked so beautiful. Her skin was still so supple, and it was still so intoxicating when he touched it. It's really strange. Why is it that this is already the second child, and she's already the mother of a child, but she still looks like a child, so pure, that pair of crystal-like eyes, still with a dazzling light, making people feel full of youth and hope. He had always liked to look at her eyes. Now that he was looking at them, it was as if he was attracted to them. He felt that perhaps it was because she was so good. She was always like an exquisite doll that he couldn't bear to put down. She was flawless, and that was why he was holding it in so hard. At this moment, he was sighing. He hoped that if the two of them could grow old sooner, perhaps he wouldn't be overwhelmed by desire when he saw her. However, smelling the scent on her body, he felt that this was basically an extravagant hope. Perhaps no matter what, her attraction to him was fatal. From the first time he had her body, he had already been unable to control himself. Time and time again, he wanted to kiss her as if he was possessed. He wanted to kiss every corner of her body, every inch of her skin. She felt that his palms seemed to suddenly become hotter. He even said that he would recover in a while, but he didn't look like he had recovered at all. It was clearly getting worse. His palms were obviously burning, and his eyes were already showing a blood-red glow. On his Adam's apple, hot sweat rolled down and slid down in his white shirt, leaving a little wet mark on it. Gu Jingze clearly didn't expect that his self-control would be so bad. He turned his head immediately and didn't look at her anymore. He frowned and said, "All right, you can leave first." Lin Shaye couldn't bear to see him leave. Looking at his back, his broad shoulders were slightly trembling because it was unbearable. Her heart ached. She walked over and hugged his back. Gu Jingze's whole body trembled. Lin Shaye pressed against his back and said, "Let me help you." Gu Jingze closed his eyes and said, "Don't. Really, I'll help you. Anyway, there are many ways. Don't hold it in anymore. If you hold in like this, what if you break down?" She raised her head bit by bit and looked at his wet face. Her hand had already reached down from below. Gu Jingze couldn't stand her touch like this, but he felt that Lin Shaye's hand was caressing him. Even though there was a layer of cloth between them, he still felt extremely sensitive and comfortable. Although she was shy and taking the initiative to do this kind of action was a little too embarrassing, she was willing to do anything to make him feel better. She closed her eyes and quietly felt it with her hand. When she touched it so quickly, she was even more shocked. So big that she was really going to die. And when she touched it, she could feel that it was still changing. Gu Jingze's throat was burning. He grabbed her hand, and his deep voice was as hoarse as a cello in the autumn night. It sounded even more charming. "You're playing with fire." Lin Shaye raised her head and blushed. "Fire? Yes. I feel that if you continue to hold it in, it will start to burn." Gu Jingze flipped her over and pressed her down on the table. Her hand slid in from below, and his body trembled. Closing his eyes, he felt her delicate little hand and the ecstasy it brought him. He sighed out loud. Chapter 979. Lin Shaye raised her head. Is this okay?" Gu Jingze couldn't take it anymore and said, "You could do whatever you want." "Really? Yeah, be good. You're so cute everywhere, so I can feel anything you do. Duh. Lin Che felt that his face really turned red after being praised like this. Gu Jingze felt that even though her technique was still immature and not superb, it was fresh and exciting. He never knew how she would feel down there. He caressed her body, one hand reaching into her clothes. Because of her pregnancy, she had grown a lot in the places that should be fleshy. The feeling of roundness was even better than before. Because he was worried that he wouldn't be able to control himself, he hadn't touched it for a long time. Now that he touched it, he couldn't bear to let go. Just a little touch was enough to satisfy him. Needing it made him feel even more comfortable. Lin Che's whole body heated up. At this time, she was actually very sensitive because of the hormones, and he was still touching her everywhere. She blushed and looked at him resentfully. Her red lips parted slightly, and her pearly white teeth trembled slightly. She looked extremely delicate. Gu Jingze felt that she was extremely cute, and he wanted to knead her into his body and take her away. He lifted her face, rubbed her body, and looked at her bashful expression. He couldn't hold it in any longer and let it all out. Because they hadn't touched each other for a long time, Lin Che couldn't take it anymore. She blushed and buried her head, not daring to look at him. But in the next moment, Gu Jingze carried her up. Lin Che said hurriedly, What are you doing? Gu Jingze gently placed her on the sofa. Then, he kissed her lips, blocking her rosy and glossy lower lip. He couldn't help but wrap his tongue around her pearly white teeth and suck on the taste of her body. Then his hand groped from below. As he panted, he said to her, You help me, and I'll help you too. That ambiguous voice, mixed with the hoarseness of his lust, added a few hints of passion. Lin Che said hurriedly, Why are you helping me? What do you think? I can't help it, but you can? He said as he pushed her onto the table. You. Lin Che felt his hands directly kneading her most sensitive body. His rough but gentle hands teased every single chord in her body, causing her to sink into his waves. It wasn't until she was completely limp that he kissed the sweat on her forehead and said to her, Be good. Your body can't handle it, so don't be too intense. Just do it once. You can make it up to me when the child is born. Lin Che's face was already flushed, and he kept hitting his shoulder. You're so annoying. You're bullying me. Yes. I married you to bully you. However, isn't this kind of bullying very comfortable? Scram. Actually, Lin Che should be more sensitive during pregnancy. Gu Jingze chuckled. Because of her encouragement, he was much more open-minded at this time, and his heart seemed to be less impatient. He carried her and brought her to the shower. They had originally gone in with a tense expression, but the two of them came out with smiles on their faces. When the helpers outside saw this, they seemed to be relieved, thinking that they had escaped with their lives. It looked like their future would still depend on Madame. If Madame was well, they would be well. If Madame wasn't, none of them would be well. Madame was still the best when it came to Sir. In less than an hour, the big problem was turned into a small one, and the small one into nothing. However, Gu Jingze still did not let go of the reporter who caused trouble. Very quickly, with a phone call, the reporter was mysteriously removed from his job. From then on, he could forget about working in the media industry. This was already a very good punishment. If not for Lin Che's pleas, she would have disappeared from Country C. The next day, when the news of Yang Ling's nomination had spread everywhere, the list of nominees for the Golden Name Awards was released. Everyone saw that other than Yang Ling, most of the nominees were people that everyone could guess. Some of the active A-list celebrities had done well last year. Among them, the most eye-catching one was Lin Che's nomination. She was nominated for the Golden Name Best Actress Award again. She had such a high achievement even before the movie was released, and she had won the first votes for the movie when it was released. When everyone saw the list of nominees, there were people who were convinced and people who were not. Some people found it strange that Lin Che's movie was nominated before it was released. Someone said sourly, It's because she has a strong foundation. Reality TV is so popular, of course the judges have to give her face. This is a movie award, not a reality TV award. Go and tell the judges, what's the use of telling us? Sigh. Now is not the time to look at fame. Someone even said, then get up. Yang Ling is just a supporting role, yet she specially issued a press release. How petty. After all, she has never been nominated before. Yang Ling was backstage when she heard these people's discussion. She immediately walked up angrily and said, "That's right, I haven't been nominated before, but you guys have? Humph. You can't even get close to the Golden Name Awards, and you still have the cheek to say that others are petty? Let me see which one of you is nominated." The people behind her snorted and looked at Yang Ling. They had long disliked arrogant people like her, so they became bolder because they had more people. We don't have that ability. We have the skills and the cheek to sleep in the Golden Name Awards. That's right, Lin Shay at least went there based on his ability. Some people. Yang Ling narrowed her eyes and looked at her. Then she snorted coldly and said, "Hee hee, isn't that also ability? If you have the ability, you can go sleep too. If you don't have the ability, then shut up." No one expected Yang Ling to be so shameless. Her face that had just been repaired looked pretty, but no matter how they looked at it, it seemed fake. She even looked more and more like Lin Shay. Yang Ling didn't care what they thought. She turned around and went back inside. She looked at the mirror and touched up her makeup. Looking at her exquisite makeup, she told herself that celebrities were like this. They could take as much humiliation as they could take. She wasn't worried about being scolded by many people. She was very satisfied with her current life. She had fame, status, and money. She could do anything that Lin Shay could do. She only thought gloomily in her heart. Why did everyone think that Lin Shay did it because of his ability, while she did it because of something else? Chapter 980. Thinking about how Lin Shay had been nominated for Best Actress, she was furious. She sat there thinking, it's not certain that you won't get it. Let's see what you're going to do if you don't get anything when the time comes. Yang Ling clenched her fists and said to the assistant beside her, "Get someone to promote Lin Shay as much as possible. Make her look like a big sister." The assistant said, "Sister Ling, what's wrong? Getting someone to promote her online will cost a lot of money." "What's wrong? I have a lot of money. Why don't I spend it? Should I keep it for you when you're old? I want to promote her. The higher she goes, the worse she'll fall. When the time comes, I'll go to the committee and tell them not to choose her." The assistant knew that Yang Ling had always been a spendthrift, but she earned money quickly anyway. If she couldn't make it, she would drink with him. She could earn a few $100,000 a time, and another few $100,000 if she slept with him at night. She would drink with him while spending the money on herself. Thus, she rose higher and higher, not caring about her reputation. She just had a bad temper and didn't listen to anyone. The assistant didn't dare to say anything more. She wanted to persuade her that she didn't get anything good from offending Lin Shay last time. She couldn't ignore that and continue to offend him this time. The assistant felt that Lin Shay was very powerful and didn't dare to offend her. Unfortunately, she didn't keep her word. Because Lin Shay's popularity hadn't gone down, Lin Shay didn't notice the unusual activity online on the day of the movie's release. On the day of the movie's release, the premiere was held at Jinming Studio in B City. Lin Shay arrived early in the morning. Because he almost tripped the last time, there were a lot more people this time. The fans were all waiting outside. Lin Shay only waved to everyone from inside, blew a kiss, and walked in. Nan Gongyu was still waiting inside. Looking at the scene outside, she shook her head and said to Lin Shay, "Big star, there are too many people." Lin Shay said helplessly, "I can't help it. The reality show just ended, so the popularity must be higher." Nan Gongyu shook her head and looked at Lin Shay. She had to admit that she had the capital to be this popular. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked in. There were quite a number of celebrities who came to support them. They said that they were here to support them, but some of them saw that there were so many reporters here, so they came to join the fun. There were quite a few of them. After all, some artists who weren't particularly popular would put in a lot of effort just to get on the headlines and appear on the news. As soon as Lin Shay followed Nan Gongyu in, everyone came forward to welcome him. "Director, congratulations. This movie will definitely be a hit." "Same to you. Thank you for coming." Everyone looked at Lin Shay and congratulated him. Congratulations, you won the Best Female Lead Award even before it's released. Not at all, not at all. Don't kill me, everyone, huh? Lin Shaye smiled and greeted everyone. She, who was becoming more and more mature, now had the demeanor of a big shot. However, she was also low-key and had a lot of depth. Although she was very amiable, the fact that she had so many bodyguards behind her naturally revealed her current status. Everyone looked at Lin Shaye. She was dressed in a long black dress, elegant and natural. She wore a little ornament on her neck, which didn't make her look pompous at all. She didn't look like some celebrities who wore famous brands when they went out. They couldn't tell what brand she was wearing, but judging from the material, they knew it wouldn't be cheap. She held a handbag in her hand and handed the rest of her things to the assistant behind her. However, her waist and appearance were indeed one of the few celebrities that had not stiffened over the years. Some female celebrities were so obsessed with beauty treatments that their expressions would always look unnatural, but Lin Shaye had never been like that. At first glance, people couldn't help but feel that she was different from the others, because her dressing and the smile on her face weren't fake at all. Although everyone didn't want to admit it, the way she presented herself did indeed have the demeanor of a big shot. It made people feel that an A-list celebrity was an A-list celebrity after all. She was different when she went out. However, there were also people who weren't convinced. Seeing her like that, they couldn't help but spit in their hearts, especially when they saw her acting like the hostess, being congratulated by everyone and standing in the middle like she was the center of attention. It made people feel even more disdainful. If it wasn't for that reality show, she wouldn't be so popular now. She relied on reality shows to become famous. Didn't she rely on selling her face to become famous? Although everyone was jealous of this kind of artist, they still looked down on her on the surface. They felt that she was selling her face shamelessly. As long as she dared to be shameless, she would be able to become famous. Lin Shaye was escorted to his seat by everyone. The main cast and crew were all seated in the first row. Behind them were the invited guests. As there were too many people, Lin Shaye didn't have the chance to greet them one by one. Hence, he didn't speak to anyone and just casually chatted with Nan Gongyu. The people at the back wanted to squeeze over to say a few words and show their faces, but they didn't get the chance. At that moment, everyone had already sat down, so they could only give up and squeeze forward. After sitting down, they said unhappily, "Seriously, did she explode in popularity? She's so arrogant. She didn't even greet us before sitting down. That's right. Look at how she brought so many people with her. She's really worried. It's as if she's afraid that someone will harm her. Isn't she just a small-time celebrity? Does she really think that she's a scoop? The movie isn't out yet. Who knows what it'll be like? When the box office is a mess, she won't be so cocky anymore." Everyone looked to the front and talked. However, it was a pity that no matter how much they complained, Lin Shaye couldn't hear them. After all, Lin Shaye was at the front, and it looked like she didn't even look at the back. She was just chatting with Nan Gongyu, ignoring everyone else. At that moment, the movie had already started. Everyone raised their heads to watch the movie. The set was plunged into darkness, and the voices of the people gradually quietened down. This was also the first time that Lin Shaye had seen a fully edited movie. Along with the music of the movie, she looked at her appearance on the screen. That seductive look was something she had never acted before. Because she was playing a bad woman, her performance this time was really different from the past. However, this bad woman was a girl who looked bad on the surface, but had a very empty heart. Acting was a common thing for her, and she lied at any time and any place. The movie started from the happy part and entered the plot. The pace was very fast, and the jokes were endless. Until the end, in a series of coincidences, the female liar was cheated and she went to jail. The last person to watch her was the male lead who had been cheated by her. The entire black humor was filled with sorrow. The scene was beautiful, but it was very cruel. Everyone laughed incessantly and fell in a deep thought. Almost everyone was watching it. Chapter 981. Lin Shaye's performance was reserved and deep. It wasn't exaggerated at all, but every single one of his eyes revealed a sense of despair. The people that had been discussing earlier were now speechless. They couldn't help but admit that the film was well shot and Lin Shaye's performance was definitely one of the best in the entertainment industry. In fact, it could even be said to be stunning. There was no sound from the audience. It was not until the ending music started playing that the audience stood up and applauded enthusiastically. Not bad. It's good. It's deep. Director Nangong is amazing. It'll definitely be a hit. Everyone was talking enthusiastically to Nangongyu. Nangongyu was also very satisfied with the overall effect he had created. He immediately bowed and thanked everyone for their support. Lin Shaye was also a little teary-eyed as he watched. All sorts of feelings welled up in his heart, and his eyes couldn't help but moisten. Lin Shaye looked at Nangongyu. I didn't expect the effect to be so good. Nangongyu said, Of course. Don't you think about it? Back then, you didn't stop finding fault with me. Every day, you told me to change things here and there. I suffered so much. If the results weren't good in the end, wouldn't I cry to death? TSK. Lin Shaye glared at him speechlessly. The two of them got up and went to the banquet hall to celebrate. The people they met along the way were still congratulating them. There were many people at the venue, and naturally, not every place was harmonious. Someone came over to talk to Lin Shaye. She looked at him and said, Sister Shaye, my name is Chu Fong Yuan. I don't know if you remember me. Lin Shaye looked at this woman who looked a little older. She looked very slick and shouldn't be a newcomer. However, Lin Shaye didn't have much of an impression of her. After all, her time back in China was limited. She didn't know much about some of the celebrities who had appeared in the past few years. Lin Shaye smiled and said, Sorry you are. Chu Fong Yuan's expression changed. She said, It's okay. You're forgetful. A few years ago, I was your supporting actor in that TV series with Gu Jingyu. Oh, I remember now. Lin Shaye suddenly remembered. He was still very young back then and didn't remember much. Did you change your name? Yeah. I used to be called Chu Ji. People said that the name wouldn't make me famous, so they asked me to change it. Oh, it's like this. Hello. Lin Shaye smiled. He even apologized that he didn't remember. However, it was something that happened a long time ago, and they didn't have many interactions, so she naturally didn't take it to heart. Chu Fong Yuan said, It's okay if you don't remember. I just terminated my contract with my previous company and am considering a new one. My previous company isn't good. They don't give out any resources. I heard that your company is hiring. Lin Shaye's studio had been recruiting people, but they were also very strict in their recruitment. Looking at the woman in front of her, she suddenly felt that they were not suitable. She smiled and said, I don't care about that. If you have any problems, you can talk to me at the office. If it was inconvenient for her to refuse, she would directly hand it over to the company and go through the normal procedures. If they didn't like it and didn't want to sign it, there was nothing she could say. However, Chu Fong Yuan said, I know. You don't know, Sister Che, but is that something you could just talk to them about? I've been in this industry for so many years. Actually, there are many people who have tried to poach me, but I really admire the attitude of your studio. Lin Shaye's studio had nurtured a few people, so there were people who had been coveting them. They felt that their company's resources were not bad. Moreover, Lin Shaye had recently started a film company of his own, and it was about to expand, so there were many people who wanted to use their connections. However, Lin Shaye had never cared about such things. She only heard that many people in the company received calls from all over the place every day, but most of them were rejected. This was the first time she had met someone who came looking for her directly. She really didn't know what to say. Lin Shaye said, I'm sorry, I really don't care about the company's matters. How about this? I'll give you a business card. If you have any questions, you can ask him. Lin Shaye asked his assistant to hand over his business card. However, Chu Fong Yuan's face immediately darkened. Sister Che, I know you might have forgotten about me, but I've already told you. What? Well, I've already told you. Just let me talk to them. It's your company anyway. Isn't it just a matter of a word? Lin Shaye said, All right, I'll talk to them. At this moment, Nangongyu, who was at the side, also realized something. He took the opportunity to interrupt. Oh right, regarding the publicity, they've been waiting for a while. Let's go over and talk about it. Lin Shaye nodded and walked to the back. Chu Fong Yuan watched him walk away just like that. She crossed her arms over her chest angrily and said, What a big shot. At this moment, there were people who were watching the commotion at the side, and they also started adding oil to the fire. Ah, she knows who you are. She signed you. Do you think you're some big shot? She's the big shot, Chu Fanyuan said. Oomph. Who didn't know that she climbed into Gu Jingyu's bed back then? Now, who knows whose bed she climbed into? That's why she's so lucky. She has people supporting her everywhere, and they even opened a company for her. She really thinks she's so great. Oomph. Chu Fanyuan said, I've long heard that she has a sugar daddy backing her up. I don't know what he does, but he keeps supporting her. Otherwise, which celebrity has so many bodyguards like her? There are plenty of people who have acting skills, so why does he have to support her alone? She came back and immediately started a reality show and a program. God knows how much money has been spent on it. Do you think she's clean? She's pretending to be so virtuous. At the back, someone couldn't help but say, then didn't you want to go to her company just now? I just want to learn from her. Umph. At that moment, Nan Gongyu walked over. He had heard Chu Fanyuan's words just now. Looking at Chu Fanyuan's face, he said, Chu Fanyuan, is it really okay to speak ill of others behind their backs? Chu Fanyuan was caught red-handed. She was a little embarrassed, but her face turned red. She still humphed and said, I'm not speaking ill of him. Am I not speaking the truth? Don't tell me you don't know. I really don't know. The Lin Shay in my eyes is completely different from what you're saying. You, on the other hand, are two different things behind her back. You're so vicious. Huh, you're speaking up for her. Why? Did she just sleep with you? Nan Gongyu said angrily, I dare you to say that again. Why? You're allowed to do it, but I'm not allowed to say it? Because I told the truth. Are you going to ban me? Ban me then. Try banning me. Nan Gongyu humphed. There's no need to ban you. With your current level, you're no different from being banned. No one knows you on the streets anyway. You, Nan Gongyu said, before you talk about others, look at yourself in the mirror first. Chu Fanyuan became even angrier. Yes, I'm not as flirtatious as her. I can't climb into your bed, so you're mocking me now. Chapter 982. Nan Gongyu said, Haha, yeah, I can't sleep looking at you like this. Chu Fanyuan's eyes widened. So you're admitting that you've slept with Lin Shay? Nan Gongyu felt that arguing with women was a waste of time. He was just angry for a moment. Looking at Chu Fanyuan in front of him, he could only snort coldly. Lin Shay doesn't need to rely on sleeping with others to achieve anything. Her strength is obvious to all. It's not something someone like you can understand. Everyone admired Chu Fanyuan. She dared to scold anyone, not even the director. But it was also because of this that she was abandoned by her previous company. She was too good at offending people. She wasn't afraid of anyone and dared to offend anyone. Chu Fanyuan snorted. No matter what you say, we heard it. Nan Gongyu didn't care about what she said. He looked at her and said, no matter what nonsense you're spouting, the truth is there. But Chu Fanyuan didn't think so. She just felt that what she heard was right. That was what Nan Gongyu meant. Lin Shay must have slept with him. This kind of thing wasn't uncommon in the industry. Everyone was in the same crew, and their rooms were so close. They couldn't do anything they wanted. There were plenty of people who wanted to have fun when they had nothing to do. Moreover, if they played with the director, they could get more resources. Why not? So Chu Fanyuan felt that it was true. She snorted and watched as Nan Gongyu left as if she knew a big secret. As she walked, she thought about telling this big secret to others. Lin Shay had already heard Nan Gongyu's voice from behind. He walked over and Lin Shay hurriedly pulled Nan Gongyu. She smiled at Nan Gongyu. I didn't know that you could argue with people. Nan Gongyu frowned. What's wrong? What's wrong with arguing? Lin Shay smiled brightly. He looked at Nan Gongyu, surprised and touched. I didn't say anything. I just felt surprised. Also, thank you for arguing for me. She didn't know how to describe her relationship with him. It was good and bad. They had misunderstandings and they had buried the hatchet. But she never thought that Nan Gongyu would speak up for her. It made her feel close to him for a moment, as if they were on the same side. Nan Gongyu blushed under her stare. All right, I didn't disturb her, did I? Lin Shay said, how can a man win an argument with a woman? Now you know why there's so many things going on between female celebrities in the entertainment industry. Sigh, it's because some women are just too troublesome. Hey, that's true, but this woman is a piece of work. You'll know once you get in touch with her. She's famous in the circle. It's right to stay away from her. Nangonyu said. Lin Che chuckled and nodded. He was happy that Nangonyu had accepted him. After all, the two of them were at loggerheads in the past. Now that they were friends, she felt a sense of accomplishment. Therefore, she didn't care about Chu Fanyuan's problem. After the premiere, she called Gu Jingze and told him that it was over. Gu Jingze said that he was already waiting for her at the back. She walked out and looked for Gu Jingze's car in the underground parking lot. She saw a black Porsche that was not very eye-catching, but very familiar. Actually, many people in B City drove this type of business car. When Gu Jingze liked to keep a low profile, he would drive this car. She walked over, but didn't notice that Chu Fanyuan was also coming out at this moment. She mumbled to herself as she came to the underground parking lot. Unlike those famous actors who had their own assistants, managers, bodyguards, and a bunch of people following them, she had just left the company and didn't have her own team, so she went in and out alone. Because of this, no one noticed her when she came to the underground parking lot. And just as she was about to open her car door, she looked up and saw Lin Che and Gu Jingze not far away. Seeing Lin Che running, Gu Jingze hurriedly got out of the car and grabbed Lin Che. Looking at her reproachfully, Gu Jingze frowned and said, "Why are you running?" Lin Che pouted. "I wanted to see you earlier, so I ran a few more steps. Don't act coquettishly with me, and don't show such a pitiful expression. You're not allowed to run next time." He looked at her. Because it was too hot inside, her cheeks were red, and she ran a few steps, which made her look even more lively. Her clothes were also a little messy, and she looked like a little bunny. He gently adjusted her clothes and lowered his head to smooth the hem of her dress. Lin Che lowered her head to look at such a graceful prince, carefully adjusting these small things for her. This kind of feeling made her feel faintly happy. However, the two of them didn't notice that at the side, someone had already taken a photo of this scene with a phone. Behind a pillar, Chu Fanyuan was already shocked by the scene in front of her. Chu Fanyuan looked at the handsome man in the distance. Who was this man? Why was he so intimate with Lin Che? Naturally, she had already noticed the Porsche at the back. She also noticed that the man's demeanor was different from ordinary people. He definitely didn't look like an ordinary person. Such a handsome man. But he actually wasn't a star. Then who was he? Was he a rich second-generation heir? Was he Lin Che's sugar daddy? Then Lin Che was too lucky to have such a sugar daddy. How many good things had he done in his previous life? She thought about what Nangonyu had said just now and still felt that something was wrong. Who would have such a sugar daddy and even have a relationship with Nangonyu? Or was Lin Che the kind of person who always had a foot on two boats? It didn't matter if he saw one or slept with the other. That was really a reckless waste of God's gift. Such a good man, and yet he was still not satisfied. As she thought about this, she looked at everything she had recorded and secretly laughed in her heart. God was really on her side. It seemed that there was hope this time. She hurriedly left quietly. When she went back, she would first find someone to ask who this man was. She hurriedly found her friends who used to hang out with her and asked who this man was. When her friends saw that, they were first stunned, and then they began to help to think who this man was. Then, someone suddenly remembered something and sent the screenshot to the financial news host. The financial news host immediately recognized this person. Wasn't this the person who had always wanted to expose his photo, but was helpless against the pressure from the higher-ups and did not dare to expose it at all? This person is Gu Jingze. One of her friends exclaimed, which made Chu Fanyuan and the others even more surprised. Gu Jingze, what do you mean? Who is he? Don't you know Gu Jingze? He's from the Gu family. Gu Jingming's younger brother, the head of the Gu family. I owe a sugar daddy. Is this person Lin Che's sugar daddy? Oh my god, this is too surprising. Chu Fanyuan immediately remembered. Chapter 983. They looked at him enviously. They were still thinking about how amazing this sugar daddy was. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the room became even more heated. Some of them even wanted to say how much money it would cost to publicize the news. It wasn't a photo. It was a video. If it was publicized, Lin Che wouldn't be able to deny it. Gu Jing's actions towards Lin Che were so gentle that it could melt anyone's heart. How could they deny that they weren't intimate? They had to admit that a sugar daddy could be so nice to his mistress. He even squatted down to tidy her clothes. This made them extremely jealous. After watching for a long time, they were still discussing who to reveal the news to. But Chu Fanyuan snatched the phone back. Reveal what? I still have a use for it. How much money can I get from revealing it? What a bunch of short-sighted people. Everyone looked at Chu Fanyuan curiously. She already had her own plan. She was immersed in it with a happy expression on her face. On the other side, Lin Che naturally didn't know about this. She just sighed. There were so many people attending the premiere. However, when she went back, she could already see some statistics after the movie was released. They weren't in a rush, so there weren't many people watching the movie at this time. But Nangong never cared about time. He always acted when he was ready. He didn't care about anything else. The result of his stubbornness was that the box office earnings were always the same. It was good, but not the best. This time, everyone thought that this would be the result of the movie, but unexpectedly, after the movie was released in the cinemas in the early hours of the morning, all the screenings were full. As expected, the first wave of people who went to watch the movie were mostly fans. After the fans, there were also some interested people who went to watch the movie. Everyone's comments were surprisingly high. They all said that it was definitely a movie worth watching. Film critics also wrote their own reviews at the first moment and posted them on the internet. They were all discussing it. Some interesting lines from a movie were immediately dug up and circulated on Weibo. Then, the next day, the popularity of the movie really increased. The number of people watching the movie also increased. In just half a day, the number of people watching the movie had already exceeded their expectations. After that, the cinemas immediately increased the number of screenings. They didn't expect that a comedy would beat so many 3D movies at once. It won a lot of cheers. The cinemas also judged the situation. Once they saw that the movie was popular, they immediately increased the screenings. At night, Yu Minmin hurriedly called Lin Che. At that time, Lin Che was watching television and leaning against the wall while eating. Yu Minmin immediately said, "Lin Che." Her voice was so loud that even Lin Che jumped up in shock. He dug his ears and said, "What are you doing? Why are you so loud? You scare me to death." You exploded. You really exploded. Yu Minmin couldn't hide the excitement in his voice. Lin Che said speechlessly, "What are you talking about? Idiot, I say this movie of yours, the box office has exploded. It's too scary. 100 million a day. It's definitely the king of 2D movies. 100 million a day? No way. Really, it's definitely 100 million today. It's already 70 million now, okay?" Lin Che also crawled up with a grunt. This box office news was still internal information. She did not know it herself and had to wait for someone else to calculate it. Isn't that awesome? Won't we get a lot of money? Idiot, money isn't a problem. If your movie becomes popular, you'll be an A-list celebrity in the future. Money won't be a problem for you. All right, I just don't know what to say at the moment. Lin Che did not expect this. Although she knew that Nangong Yu's movie wouldn't be bad, everyone thought that the box office of his movie wouldn't be surprisingly good. She did not expect this movie to directly break this convention. What she did not know was that this was only the first day. On the second day, it was still more than 100 million. On the third day, it was still that after a few consecutive days, the box office of this movie was already unprecedented. It was the king of 2D movies. After the last week, the box office went straight to 600 million. This week's box office had already surpassed the total box office of Nangong Yu's other movies. In the past, the highest box office of Nangong Yu's movies was only 600 million. Now, it was enough in a week. Everyone also started to discuss this movie online. Looking at the movie reviews, they knew that the movie was very well received. The movie was full of jokes, and the acting was also very good. It was both refined and popular, and the dark humor made many people feel that this movie was worth watching. This could already be considered a successful movie. It was the only movie in recent years that had a good reputation and box office. It was also a dark horse in this year's box office. Under circumstances that no one expected, it became the box office champion. Lin Shaye's acting also immediately received very high praise. Everyone felt that her acting that broke through her limits in the movie was very on point. Her acting was very natural. There were no exaggerated movements, but it was so natural that it made people feel that this was true acting. It did not seem impetuous at all, but it was deeply rooted in people's hearts. Her eyes and expressions made people feel the same way. That day, Lin Shaye happily went to the company to celebrate with everyone. On the way, she got someone to prepare a cake and prepare to share it with everyone when they arrived at the company. When they arrived at the company, everyone walked out together. They directly faced Lin Shaye and sprayed sparkling flower mist, which made Lin Shaye extremely surprised. "Aya, what are you guys doing?" Lin Shaye said in the middle. "The box office sales are huge. Sister Shaye is really popular." The employees in the company all laughed. Lin Shaye looked at everyone with a smile. She was in a good mood and looked at everyone pleasing to the eye. All right. Thank you all for your blessings. I'll give out red packets later, okay?" When everyone heard that there would be red packets to receive, they immediately grinned from ear to ear. Everyone was sharing the cake and celebrating. At this moment, the receptionist came over. When she saw Lin Shaye, she directly came over and said, "Sister Shaye, Chu Fanyuan is here. She's at the door." Lin Shaye frowned when she heard this name. Seriously, she must be drunk to be able to find her way to the company. "Can't you guys just find someone to handle it?" Lin Shaye said. "No, she won't do it. She said she has something to tell Sister Shaye personally." We also tried to persuade her for a long time, but she said, "What did she say?" She said, "You'll regret it if you don't see it." She was so sure. Was it a scheme, or was it real? Lin Shaye sat there and thought about it. He didn't feel that he had any other interactions with her. She said, "All right, let her wait first. I'll be right there." Yes. Lin Shaye tidied up a little before walking out. As expected, Chu Fanyuan was there. She sat outside with her legs crossed, drinking the company's coffee. She looked like an uninvited guest. However, she didn't have the self-awareness of an uninvited guest. On the contrary, when she saw Lin Shaye, she directly showed a pleased smile. Chapter 984. Lin Shaye looked at Chu Fanyuan. "Hello. I heard that you were looking for me, but I have to go out now. You see, I guarantee that you won't want to go out when you see this material." Chu Fanyuan raised her phone, her expression overflowing with insolence. Lin Shaye had to admit that she had indeed piqued his curiosity. Lin Shaye looked at Chu Fanyuan and said, "All right, tell me, what do you want to show me? Are you sure we don't want to talk inside?" "Okay, let's talk inside." Lin Shaye shook his head and looked at her helplessly. Then, he led her into the company. They went inside. Chu Fanyuan looked at Lin Shaye's company. She felt that it was just SOSO. It didn't look very big, and it might not be as good as the rumors said. Even so, everyone was still trying to squeeze in. It was really strange. Moreover, the company was only so big. Lin Shaye made it seem as if he was taking advantage of her the other day, as if anyone wanted to enter the company. Wasn't it just like that? Of course, she didn't know that the company didn't need too many employees, so Lin Shaye didn't build a big place. Most of the funds were used to pave the way for the artists under him. Of course, he didn't spend much on decorations. Moreover, they didn't pay much attention to decorations. Everyone was working hard together. That was what they were after. After entering the company, Lin Shaye sat down and looked at Chu Fanyuan. Chu Fanyuan smiled and showed the video on her phone to Lin Shaye. "Look at this. What's this?" Lin Shaye found it strange at first. When he looked down, he was a little surprised. It was a video of her and Gu Jingze in the underground garage. The video was very clear. Their facial expressions were very clear. Lin Shaye's eyes moved slightly. He looked up and saw Chu Fanyuan's treacherous expression. Then Lin Shaye smiled. "Oh, about that. What do you think?" "I don't. I'm just envious. I'm envious of how you found such a good sugar daddy." "Lin Shaye, we are fated to meet each other, and we are fated to meet each other. Why don't you help me out so that I can live with you?" "How could that be? I don't think you're living a good life. I like the atmosphere in your company. Can you give me something to do in your company? I've been an actor for so many years, and I have experience. Aren't I better than the newcomers? It'll be easier to promote me. At least in the eyes of the audience, I'm familiar, right? The cold smile on Lin Che's face disappeared. He looked at Chu Fanyuan and pondered for a moment before saying, "All right, I'll call someone over to discuss the contract with you." "Really? That's great. I knew it. Just a word from you." Lin Che didn't say anything more. After he finished talking to her, he walked out. Chu Fanyuan looked at the video in her hand proudly. Soon, someone came to talk to her about signing a contract. She harumphed. Like a big shot waiting to be signed, she leaned against the wall and said, "I think we need to state in the contract our future promotional plans. How we're going to promote me, how much we're going to spend on promoting me, how many shows we're going to appear on every month, how many movies we're going to make every year, how many TV shows we're going to make. We have to state everything clearly. I'm not a newcomer. Don't try to lie to me about this." The person who came to sign the contract couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at Chu Fanyuan and thought, what is this? Isn't she a newcomer? Don't lie to me. Only big names would sign a contract that required them to film a few TV series a year. Who would sign such a contract for an unknown artist? "I'm sorry, our company doesn't have such a contract," the person who came to sign the contract said. Chu Fanyuan's expression immediately changed. "Hey, you can go and ask your boss, Lin Che, if he can give me this contract. I'm telling you, she'll definitely agree to it. Moreover, she'll agree to whatever I say. If you don't believe me, you can go and ask her." "Oomph, you even dare to offend me. Let me tell you, don't pretend to be a person in front of me in the future." The staff member was also very sad and angry after being scolded for no reason. He walked out with a strange look on his face. When he saw Lin Che, he said, "Sister Che, I've never seen such a shameless person. She insisted on making 2 TV shows and 2 movies a year. How could she become popular like this?" Lin Che said, "Just accept it for now. Anyway, the process of signing the contract will take a while. Let's think of another way." Hearing Lin Che say this, he nodded. In Yu Minmin's office. After Lin Che went over and told Yu Minmin about this, Yu Minmin laughed speechlessly. This person is famous for being thick-skinned, but it's not good to offend such a despicable person. I wonder who she showed this to. Lin Che said, since she dared to use it to threaten me, she naturally didn't show it to too many people. She also didn't let anyone copy it. Otherwise, if everyone came to threaten me, this weapon would be useless. She's really courting death. She even dared to provoke Gu Jingze. If it wasn't for the fact that she really doesn't want to be exposed, I'd like to see if she still dares to be so arrogant after knowing that he's not her so-called sugar daddy, Lin Che said with a smile. Chu Fanyuan could indeed be said to have walked out of Lin Che's company sideways. When she walked out, she couldn't help but almost jump up. This was so useful. She was really lucky this time. Although Lin Che's agency wasn't big, it had produced quite a few high-quality celebrities. She thought that she would also have a part in this in the future. Moreover, she had this in her hands. Lin Che was worried that she would be exposed, so he had to let her do as she pleased. When that time came, he might even make her into a celebrity, with so many bodyguards following behind her. Thinking deeper, it would be even better if she had the chance to see Lin Che's sugar daddy, Gu Jingze, in the company that she also wanted to have such a sugar daddy. When that time came, she wouldn't have to worry about anything else. Lin Che asked someone to keep an eye on her and didn't care about anything else for the time being. But at this time, the movie's figures were still increasing. A few days later, it broke through the 1 billion mark and became a member of the 1 billion club. Lin Che's company's phone immediately exploded with calls. They were all inviting him to do interviews and programs, but Lin Che basically rejected them all. Recently, because of his health, he tried not to go on these programs as much as possible. Lin Che felt that she was already starting to vomit. Although she was still young, she could feel the occasional nausea. She felt uncomfortable eating something. However, it was different from the previous pregnancy. At this time, she was already vomiting. This time, she didn't know if it was because of the second pregnancy, but she felt much lighter. However, Gu Jingze was still very anxious. He felt that she had to eat something. Chapter 985. Other people were fat when they were pregnant, but she had lost some weight. Her body didn't look like much, but her waist and face looked smaller than before. Gu Jingze brought the food to Lin Che's bed early in the morning. He looked at Lin Che and said, "Eat something first." Lin Che had just woken up, so he was still in a daze. He looked at Gu Jingze and said, "You haven't washed your face yet. Let me help you." Gu Jingze went to get a basin, a towel, a toothbrush, and toothpaste. Seeing Gu Jingze's exaggerated expression, Lin Che said, "Are you going to let me spend the rest of my life on the bed? Stop joking. Hurry up and eat." Lin Che was really being served by him. After he took the things down one by one, Lin Che sat on the bed and said, "I feel like I'm being kept in captivity." "Isn't it good to be kept in captivity?" Lin Che said, "It's not that it's not good. It's just, it feels weird." Gu Jingze said, "It's because you don't get fat by eating." Lin Che sighed and looked at his slender arms. "I can't help it. I have this kind of body. Sigh, if I say something like this, people will beat me to death. But there really are people in this world who don't get fat by eating too much. What should I do?" Gu Jingze hated this kind of body. Lin Che said, "Isn't this good? After giving birth, I don't need to lose weight, and I can make a comeback." Gu Jingze's face darkened. Lin Che said, "Also, if I wasn't so fat, you wouldn't despise me when I'm so ugly." Gu Jingze frowned. "I won't despise you no matter what. I'm just worried that you'll suffer when you give birth because you're so thin." Lin Che cupped his face. "Look at our big CEO. You're about to become an old mother." Gu Jingze said angrily, "Then who is it?" Yes. It's all because of me." Lin Che felt warm inside. After all, as he said, it was all because of her. How could she not know that he was so worried for her and so attentive? Lin Che cupped his face. "All right, I promise you that I'll eat more. I won't be stubborn and not eat." Gu Jingze said, "Then you should eat this breakfast obediently." Lin Che looked at the table full of things. "No way, so many." "Gu Jingze, I think you're treating me like a pig." Gu Jingze poked her nose. "It's your fault for having a pig's brain." Scram. Okay, not a pig brain. Now that Gu Jingze wanted to make her happy, there were some things that he had to go along with her. "I want to raise you into a pig so that no one will covet you. You'll be mine, okay?" Hearing this, Lin Che smiled even more warmly. She thought for a moment, then curled her lips and said, "But actually, you don't have to worry about others coveting me, right?" "Why?" "Because." Lin Che leaned against him and said, "Because you're so good." "Oh, how am I good?" Lin Che looked at him. "First of all, you're handsome." She pinched his arm. "And you're still in such good shape." She looked at him. "And you're the CEO, so I'm fine." "Of course not." Lin Che smiled and said, "The point is that you're so outstanding, and you treat me so well. That's why you're fine." Gu Jingze was very satisfied. However, looking at the petite woman, he pinched her arm and said, "You're trying to bewitch me on purpose, aren't you? Then, will it work?" Lin Che looked up with her bright eyes. Gu Jingze lowered his head and kissed her lips. "What do you think? Other people's bewitchment might not work, but hers was the most effective." Lin Che finished eating and drinking on the bed early in the morning. When she went down, she felt that she was being extravagant. However, after resting for a few days, she still didn't gain any weight. Not only that, but she also looked slimmer. Because of her poor appetite and the hormonal disorder in her body, she looked even thinner. However, her chest was still growing like a normal pregnant woman's. As the Golden Award ceremony was approaching, Lin Che prepared a custom-made gown. This time, she didn't use the Gu family's clothes because the Golden Awards was more grand, and they felt that it was better to be more careful. In the past, because she was too lazy to find clothes, she casually took one from the Gu family to wear. She never made a mistake, but it didn't seem too grand. This time, the Golden Awards was the most grand and important film award in Country C. She was also a candidate for the Best Actress, so she had to be paid more attention. Therefore, Lin Che prepared with the company early in the morning to customize the clothes. This was the most famous custom-made clothing shop in Country C. Many socialites and ladies had come to have their dresses custom-made, so it was also a very famous place. However, it was indeed Lin Shae's first time here. After Abai contacted this place, she asked Lin Shae to bring her assistant first. After Lin Shae entered the door, the people who came to welcome her were indeed not as enthusiastic as other shops. After all, this was a famous shop, and it could be said that they had seen everyone. They didn't care much about one or two celebrities. After Lin Shae came in, the shop assistant introduced her lightly and said to Lin Shae, "Miss Lin, this is your first time custom making, right? I don't think I've seen you come before." Lin Shae said, "Yes, I usually buy other clothes for myself." "That's right. Our shop has a long history. You should have heard that the clothes in our shop are very famous. Here is our album. You can take a look at what style you want. Our designers are famous French and Italian designers, and they can tailor it for you." Lin Shae said, "I want to take a look first." Seeing that Lin Shae didn't seem to consider custom making, the shop assistant thought that she was thinking that it was too expensive to have it custom made by a designer, so she didn't say anything. Lin Shae also wanted to try out the style first, so she asked the shop assistant to bring a few clothes to try first. The shop assistant took a few clothes and said, "This is also our new style. No one in country C has ever worn it before." Lin Shae went in to try it first, and the shop assistant specially took out a camera from outside. He wanted to say that Lin Shae had never been here before, but this time she was here, and she was a celebrity, so he wanted to take a picture of her and put it on the photo wall. Although there were already so many celebrities on the photo wall, it didn't matter if there was one more. They were ready, and Lin Shae had already come out from inside. Seeing that she was wearing a slim dress that wrapped around the curves of her body, it was very stunning, because she had lost so much weight recently, but her chest was surprisingly big, so at this moment, she was like a Barbie doll, looking so exquisite and perfect. The shop assistant also had to admit that Lin Shae looked really good in their clothes. Chapter 986. Especially that slender waist, it was not something an ordinary person could wear. The shop assistant quickly walked over and said, "Miss Lin, do you mind if we take a photo?" Lin Shae smiled. "No problem. Miss Lin, don't worry. After you take the photo, I will put it on the wall for you. Many people will think it's beautiful. Our shop's photo wall is not for ordinary people. You can go take a look. The famous people in country C have more or less come to our shop." Lin Shae was not interested in this. She wanted to take the time to look at more clothes and leave after choosing. Seeing that the shop assistant had left, the assistant said unhappily, as if we haven't seen the world, "Who wants to be on her photo wall?" Lin Shae said, "Forget it. It's better to avoid trouble. Since there are no special clothes, let's go. The clothes are pretty good, but she's too arrogant. What does she think we are? Besides, isn't it because you're good looking that you look good in any clothes?" Lin Shae smiled. "Look at your sweet mouth. Let's go." At this moment, in the distance, two women who looked like they often came here to buy clothes walked over. When they saw the clothes Lin Shae was wearing, their eyes lit up. Anyone who saw this would be very stunned, because the curve was too perfect and the tailoring was too good. When the shop assistant saw the two women, she quickly went to greet them. Her attitude was completely different from when she was with Lin Shae. It was no wonder that the shop assistant was so happy. These two were frequent customers of their shop. Every time they came, they would buy a bunch of clothes. Compared to a first-time customer like Lin Shae, they naturally preferred this kind of frequent customer. "Miss Fong, Miss Wan, you're here. We just got new stock." "No need. I think the one she's wearing is pretty good." The woman directly aimed at the clothes Lin Shae was wearing. Lin Shae was just about to go in to change when he heard this voice. He raised his head and looked over. He saw two people standing there, tall and slender, looking at Lin Shae. There seemed to be a hint of provocation in their eyes. These two were newly minted tycoons. Their families were in the new technology business. They had just become rich, so they were more impetuous and liked to spend money. They spent lavishly and bought everything. That was why they were so popular in the shop. This shop was very famous, and they had seen all kinds of people. However, they could not actually see the top rich people. They had seen many people who had just become rich and had a lot of money. The rest of them were celebrities in the entertainment industry. It was easier for these celebrities to gather there to buy clothes. Because one of them had heard that someone had been here before, they wanted to come and try it. Over time, this shop became famous. Seeing that the two of them were pointing at Lin Che, the employees felt a bit awkward. They said to the two of them, "The two of you are regular customers of our store, so you should know that we usually only have one piece of clothing. There won't be more than one." Miss Fong looked at Lin Che and said, "Hey, Lin Che, right? I've seen your movies, but this outfit doesn't really suit you. Why don't you take it off and let us have it?" Lin Che didn't want to buy it at first, but hearing her tone, Lin Che felt disgusted. Lin Che smiled and said, "Sorry, I know whether it suits me or not. I don't need to listen to other people's advice." Did that mean she wouldn't take it off? The two people's eyes immediately turned vicious. They walked over and said, "Manager, I've spent so much money here. Don't I have the right to choose first?" The manager looked at them awkwardly. They really didn't have the right to choose first. They were both customers and one was a celebrity. She was worried that if Lin Che flew into a rage, he would cause trouble online. She had so many fans, so she hoped they wouldn't attack their shop. The manager thought for a moment and said, "Please wait a moment. We'll discuss it later." The two people snorted and went to the side to wait. The manager hurriedly ran over to Lin Che. "Miss Lin, you can give this dress to them. They're the daughters of the bosses of big companies and are socialites. What do you think?" Lin Che didn't know that people with a bit of money could be called socialites these days. That socialite was just too worthless. Lin Che glanced at them and said, "Originally, I didn't want to buy this." Hearing this, the store manager's eyes lit up. She thought that this was the end of the matter. Unexpectedly, Lin Che continued, "But now that they want it, I feel that if they bring it back, they will feel very wronged. I'll keep it." Lin Che was playing with them. The assistant said, "Yeah, it's not like we can't afford it." The manager saw that everyone wanted to save face. It was impossible that Lin Che didn't have this bit of money, but they didn't lack rich people here. So the manager straightened her back and advised, "It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Why do you have to do this? Actually, it's not good for us to offend them. Moreover, didn't Miss Lin say that you might not like this dress?" "I quite like it." Lin Che said, "This dress is fine, but it's not something I'm going to wear for an important occasion." The clothes that they were going to wear for the Golden Awards were prepared in great detail. The color, the style, whether it was more open or colder, they had to go through careful research. This dress definitely wouldn't do. Lin Che had originally wanted to design a set here, but now it seemed that this was just a place that had been hyped up by celebrities. Actually, the real thing might not be better than others. So she wasn't going to set it here. Anyway, there were other custom-made clothes. Even if it wasn't as popular as this one, it didn't mean that the quality was better. But Lin Che really wasn't going to let those two have this dress. She usually didn't spend money recklessly, but today she didn't mind squandering a bit. When a manager heard this, she was even more troubled. The two people on the other side couldn't hold it in anymore. Miss Fong walked over and said, "Are you done discussing, Miss Lin? I heard some of it just now. What she meant was that you haven't paid for it yet, right? So this dress isn't yours yet. Of course I can buy it." Lin Che smiled. "But I'm already prepared to buy it. Shouldn't there be a first-come, first-served basis for buying things?" Miss Fong chuckled. "I'm prepared to pay double the price. Manager, help me see if I can buy it." This dress was worth hundreds of thousands. Double the price was a huge profit. When the manager heard this, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to do business. She earnestly hoped that Lin Che would give up on this dress. But Lin Che was really like this. The more you asked her to give up, the more she didn't want to listen to them. Especially at a time like this, when someone was causing trouble for no reason. If she gave up just like that, she would be too cowardly. Chapter 987. The store manager immediately whispered to Lin Che, "Miss Lin, look, there are other clothes here too. Some of them are the same style worn by famous foreign celebrities. They will definitely look fashionable in them. Why don't you take a look?" "No, this is all I want now," Lin Che said. The shop assistant's expression changed slightly. "Miss Lin, aren't you making things difficult for me? The woman behind couldn't hold it in any longer. She looked at Lin Shay and walked over in her high heels. Hey, Lin Shay, what's the point of fighting with me over this? Why don't you give it to me, and I'll give you my share of the money? Lin Shay chuckled as he looked at her. Fight with you? I think I saw it first. You were the one fighting with me, weren't you? The woman harumphed. I don't care. I'll definitely get what I want. Tell me, how much money do you want to give up? Lin Shay smiled. Sure, it's not like I can't live without money. Upon hearing this, the woman's expression became one of understanding. She relaxed and looked at her disdainfully. She wanted to say that Lin Shay was trying to raise the price. She blew on her exquisite nails and said to Lin Shay, All right, tell me then, how much do you want? If you had said so earlier, we wouldn't have wasted our time, right? His appearance was truly disgusting. Thus, Lin Shay looked at her calmly and smiled. Not much, just 100 million. 100 million. The people present all took a deep breath. This person, did he go crazy because of the lack of money? Just a moment ago, they had thought that she was just trying to get more money. Only now did they realize that Lin Shay was deliberately teasing them. Miss Fong was instantly enraged. She shouted at Lin Shay, Hey, are you messing with me? Hi, you've got guts. Lin Shay said innocently, How could that be? Am I serious about the price? Isn't 100 million a small sum to you? It's a small sum, but I won't give it to a brute like you. Lin Shay's expression softened as he looked at her with a straight face. The little assistant beside him was also angry. She shouted, Who are you scolding? What's wrong? You're just a small-time star. Do you really think you're invincible just because you're praised by the audience every day? Miss Fong walked over ostentatiously, sizing up Lin Shay as she said, No matter what, you're just an entertainer. You live by selling your face, yet you still dare to snatch something from me here. Let me tell you, don't think that just because you're a celebrity in the eyes of ordinary people, you'll be flattered wherever you go. I won't fall for it. Lin Shay also laughed when he heard that. Selling my face means that I still have a face to look at. Compared to a shameless person like you, I'm considered pretty good. Her words had a double meaning. At first, Miss Fong did not realize what she meant. She was so angry that her face darkened. Who are you calling shameless? I didn't say that. Why did you take it personally? It seems like you're quite self-aware. Miss Fong was furious. Miss Wan, who was behind her, also hurried over. All right, Ching Ching, what's there to argue with an entertainer? She said directly to the store owner. Store owner, do as you see fit. We're people who spend millions here every month. Tell me, who are you willing to offend with someone who can't even afford to spend money here? She looked at Lin Shay again and said, I know, you just want to buy something nice to wear to attend the ceremony or something. Also, these celebrities sometimes don't even bear to spend money on clothes, saying that they want to get sponsors, right? When the store owner heard about sponsorship, she immediately said, We don't sponsor anything here. Lin Shay looked at the store owner. So what you're saying is that you want me to take off my clothes and give them to her? Although the store owner was in a difficult position, she knew that the purchasing power of celebrities was indeed not as good as these nouveau riches. For the sake of their reputation, celebrities would buy expensive clothes when they went out to shoot or something. However, they didn't earn as much money as these nouveau riches, so they weren't as generous as them when it came to spending. Looking at Lin Shay just now, it didn't seem like he was going to customize anything here. Hence, the store owner said directly, Miss Lin, you haven't bought anything yet, right? Lin Shay chuckled. Then what if I'm prepared to buy it now? Our store doesn't want to buy it for you. Can we? The assistant was furious when she heard this. No way. How can you bully people like this? Miss Fong and Miss Wan, who were standing at the side, immediately smiled like flowers and looked in Lin Shay's direction proudly. Lin Shay narrowed his eyes and looked at the two of them. Then she said directly, All right, I'll go in and change. The assistant said in surprise, Sister Che. It was too embarrassing to be bullied like this. Lin Shay didn't say anything and just wanted to change. The little assistant was left standing with Miss Fong and Miss Wan. The assistant snorted angrily. Miss Fong said loudly, If you knew this would happen, you should have just changed it for me earlier. You could have even gotten a share of the money. What are you looking at? Are you her assistant or manager? Little girl, you have to know that celebrities don't mean everything. This world belongs to the rich, understand? The little assistant was so angry that her liver hurt. However, she couldn't say anything for a moment. However, at this moment, Lin Shay opened the door and walked out. She had already changed into her own clothes. She held the clothes in her hand and hurriedly walked over to the shop assistant with a smile, as if she was afraid that there was something wrong with the clothes. However, Lin Shay directly threw the clothes on the floor. Then, he stepped on it, but the few of them were stunned. Lin Shay's heel left a clear mark on the clothes. Then, he raised his head and looked at the person opposite him. The little assistant immediately felt like she was about to explode and hurriedly ran over. Sister Che. The two women and the store manager were stunned. Miss Fong's face turned purple. Wasn't this a direct slap to her face? Miss Wan also immediately flew into a rage. You, what do you mean by this? Lin Shay stood there. I'm sorry, I accidentally touched it. What do you mean accidentally? You did it on purpose. Since you saw that it was on purpose, then what are you saying? Normally, I don't like to bicker with people, but if someone tries to bully me, I won't just sit back and do nothing. I won't let people shit on my head, especially people like you, who make me feel disgusted. You, Lin Shay, you really want to die? Miss Fong said to the store manager. Make her pay 10 times the amount. Also, sue her for deliberately damaging things to the police. The store manager was also quite angry. It was said that celebrities had bad tempers. She looked at Lin Shay and thought that he was a soft eggplant. She didn't expect him to be the same. Chapter 988. Asterisk the shop assistant was also looking at Lin Shay. Miss Lin, I'm telling you out of goodwill. How could you do this? Lin Shay looked at the shop assistant. I only stepped on a little. I think that since this lady likes this dress so much, she wouldn't mind if I accidentally stepped on it. Miss Fong said angrily, What did you say? Huh, who cares about something that you stepped on? Celebrities are so dirty, and their feet are even dirtier. Lin Shay looked up. Then there's nothing I can do. Seeing that Lin Shay said this, the shop assistant thought that he didn't want to care about this matter. She immediately said, Then what about this dress? It could have been sold. The clothes here are the favorites of the socialites. They won't be cheap. Lin Shay didn't want to take advantage of anyone. He looked at the shop assistant. I'll pay for it. The shop assistant looked at Lin Shay. It was impossible for her to say that she didn't do it on purpose. Miss Fong felt that she couldn't let Lin Shay off just like that. She said angrily, I don't care. She ruined the dress. She has to pay for it. Lin Shay looked at her and said directly, There are people who look down on others, but this is the first time I've seen people like you. Huh, you're just an actress. How dare you say that? Miss Fong said. Lin Shay said, Then do whatever you want to do with it. Miss Fong said, How do you usually deal with things in your shop? Don't you pay for this? Pay. Of course we pay. The shop assistant knew that Miss Fong wanted Lin Shay to pay for it. Actually, it wasn't hard to say. She just had to pay for it. Lin Shay said, Just because you said so? Miss Fong looked up. Why? You're not happy? Who told you to ruin it? You were feeling good just now, and now you don't want to pay for it? Of course I don't mean that. Lin Shay said, But don't treat me like an idiot. I won't ask for a single cent if I have to pay for it. If I don't have to pay for it, Lin Shay said, About the compensation, you can talk to my lawyer. Lawyer? The two of them harumphed. They knew that these celebrities would have their own team of lawyers. After all, they were celebrities in the company. But they weren't afraid. All right, you can try, Miss Fong said. Lin Shay called his lawyer. Her lawyer had been arranged by Gu Jingze in the beginning. Because it was a company, there were many things that were involved in the case. The lawyer handled all the cases very well. Lin Shay trusted him very much. After all, Gu Jingze helped her find the lawyer. She believed that the lawyer must be good. The lawyer hurried over. When everyone saw her from afar, Miss Fong felt that she looked familiar. Why do I feel like I've seen this person before? Then, she suddenly remembered that this was the #1 lawyer in the capital, Lawyer Song. Who didn't know this person? Both of them felt a little strange when they saw Lawyer Song walk in. Even if you had the money, you might not be able to invite him. After all, the people who invited him were not ordinary people. When some companies under the Gu family went public, they would sometimes ask him for help. The remuneration of those companies going public was enough for him to spend several lifetimes, so he usually didn't care about small cases. But why did he suddenly come here as Lin Che's lawyer? While everyone was still puzzled, the lawyer had already walked in. When he saw Lin Che, he immediately said respectfully to her, "Miss Lin, I'm not late, am I?" "No, you're just in time. I'll leave the compensation for this dress to you," Lin Che said directly. "Ah, okay. Don't worry, Miss Lin. I'll definitely take care of it." Seeing that Lawyer Song had personally come to handle such a small case and was so respectful to Lin Che, the few of them were a little surprised. Just then, an even more surprising scene appeared. Lin Che looked behind him and said, "All right, since someone has taken care of this, we'll leave first." Miss Fong was still not satisfied and quickly said, "You're not running away, are you? Hey, let me tell you, don't think that you can escape. You're a public figure. Don't go into the news because of such a small matter. If people find out that Lin Che came to customize a dress and made such a joke, you'll have to deal with it." Lin Che looked at the store manager and the two ladies and said, "Okay, don't worry. I'll call someone to take care of it." Then, she called Gu Jingze and said over the phone, "Okay, I didn't choose the dress. I think it's not as good as the one at home." Gu Jingze said, "Really? I told you to ask the butler to do it. Didn't I want to have a strong accent?" Lin Che said. Gu Jingze said, "You can tell the butler what style you want." "Okay, I'll go to other stores next time. Now, wait for me there. I'll come and pick you up. Is that okay?" "Okay, I'll wait for you here." The store manager listened to her words and felt that it was strange. Was she purposely saying that for them to hear? Actually, Lin Che really did say that for them to hear. His purpose was also very simple. He wanted to see the look on these people's faces. Lin Che was not a kind person. If they treated her well, she would treat them twice as well. If they didn't treat her well, she would definitely want to take revenge on them. Even if there wasn't any real revenge, it was fine to make them feel bad. While they were still watching, they saw Gu Jingze arrive outside very soon. Gu Jingze got out of the car. Lin Che was still waiting by the side. Gu Jingze took off his clothes and slowly walked over. He had just come from the company, so he was still wearing a formal suit. He looked very gentlemanly. He was wearing a well-ironed suit. He was a man who was like a clothes rack. He looked very dazzling. At first glance, people could feel that he had an extraordinary identity. The two people inside were a little dumbfounded, and the store manager suddenly had a feeling. Did she offend the wrong person for no reason? Although she only took a look at the man for what happened just now, it seemed that Lin Che didn't care about the two people's provocation at all. She even brought the #1 case in the capital. Then, such a beautiful man appeared and attracted everyone's attention. Behind them, the car that the man drove was not ordinary. There was probably only one Aston Martin in the whole world in B City. What kind of status did he have to be to drive such a good car for no reason? Ordinary people wouldn't be able to see this car because it was too high-end. Therefore, it seemed to be the same as him. It looked a little low-key. However, there was endless luxury in the low-key. Chapter 989. The two young ladies on the other side were stunned. They had never seen such a handsome man, and they had never seen such a graceful man. Gu Jingze walked to Lin Che's side and scanned the shop coldly before saying to Lin Che, "Shall we go?" Lin Che turned around and said, "No, I stepped on their clothes and I have to pay for it. Also, they said that they have to pay several times the amount and they want to send me to the police station." Huh. Gu Jingze's face showed a mocking smile with a hint of coldness, which made the others gasp in shock. The shop owner couldn't help but shrink back. Lin Che said, "It's okay. I've already called Lawyer Song." Where? Gu Jingze's every turn and movement was beautiful. It was pleasing to the eye, but at the same time, they were worried. Especially when they met his cold, star-like eyes, it would make people feel a chill in their hearts. When Lawyer Song heard that Gu Jingze had come, he quickly came out. He chuckled as he ran to Gu Jingze and said, "Sir, I just want to find out about the situation." Oh, how we solve this problem? Lin Che asked. We looked at the extent of the damage, looked at the items, and listened to what happened. We feel that the shop cheated the customers, raised the prices of the products, and advertised them maliciously. I think if we sue them, we should be able to get some compensation. Oh, then go ahead, Gu Jingzi said lightly. The shop owner was so upset that his intestines turned green. What did he say? Sue them? Lawyer Song said again, Yes, sir. Don't worry, we don't need anyone to go to court. I'll find someone to settle this small case. Okay, if there's nothing else. Gu Jingzi hugged Lin Che. Let's go. Lin Che tilted her head and looked past Gu Jingzi to look at the people inside. We're leaving just like that? I wanted to ask what we should do after this. The shop owner saw this and quickly stood up. She smiled apologetically and said to Lin Che, Miss Lin, we were just joking. There was a misunderstanding just now, but you don't have to pay for it. The clothes weren't damaged anyway. They just got stained by your shoes. You're so famous. If we say that they were your shoes, they'll definitely sell better. Lin Che chuckled. Then this joke is a bit too much. Sorry, we didn't make it clear. The shop owner quickly lowered her head and apologized. How could she have imagined that the power behind Lin Che would be so great? Seeing how Lawyer Song was bowing to this handsome young man, he knew that he was not an ordinary nouveau riche. The two women at the back were still unconvinced. Looking at the man's cold eyes, although they were a little scared, they were, after all, also rich people. How could they be afraid of a man who suddenly appeared? Miss Fong stepped forward and said angrily, Hey, what do you mean by this? Why are you so timid? If he wants to sue us, we'll definitely accompany him to the end. Gu Jingzi's gaze swept over and landed on Miss Fong's face. It was breathtaking, and Miss Fong couldn't help but shiver. She found it sexy, but at the same time, she felt scared. She couldn't help but hold back at the end. Gu Jingzi looked at her and asked, Who are you? Miss Fong listened to his low voice, puffed out her chest, and said, We're from Shinri Technology. Shinri Technology. Gu Jingzi frowned and thought for a moment. Oh, I know. It wasn't his fault. After all, his memory was so good that he could remember many things at a glance. Miss Fong's eyes lit up when she saw that he knew who she was. Well, do you know who I am now? Gu Jingzi said, I've only heard of it. It just went public recently, but I usually don't pay much attention to small companies like this. Miss Fong looked at Gu Jingzi angrily. Small company? Huh. Look at how arrogant you are. Your company is big, but I've never seen you before. Humph. I don't know where you came from, but you're pretending to be from a rich family. Let me tell you, you can't pretend to be from a rich family. Gu Jingzi smirked. You're from a rich family? Miss Fong's face was purple from embarrassment. Gu Jingzi said, There aren't many people in B City who dare to say that they're from a rich family. In a place like B City where one could casually stroll around, one could meet many rich and powerful people. Who would dare to say that they were rich and powerful? Miss Fong said, That's right. Which family are you from? How dare you come here to show off? You don't deserve to know my name, Gu Jingzi said calmly. You. Miss Fong was so angry that she wanted to rush over. However, at this moment, the security guards behind Gu Jingzi stopped her. Miss Fong could only stare at him angrily and shout, Just you wait, just you wait. Gu Jingzi snorted. He didn't even look at them. He pulled Lin Che along and walked out. The manager quickly found someone to stop Miss Fong. On the other side, Miss Wan looked at the security guard and suddenly reacted. She saw the badge on the security guard and quickly pulled Miss Fong back, saying, all right, stop chasing after him. It's over. I think I've seen this badge before. Miss Fong was stunned. What badge? Miss Wan said that badge just now seems to belong to the Goof family. Which Goof family? Which other Goof family would have their own exclusive badge? Miss Fong said, It can't be that Goof family, right? Then who was that man just now? Lawyer Song, who hadn't gone far, looked at the two of them and snorted. When Miss Fong saw Lawyer Song, she quickly asked, Hey, who? Who was that? Lawyer Song smiled. You don't even know Gu Jingzi, and you still dare to say that you're from a rich family? He snorted mockingly, patted his clothes, and left. He couldn't be bothered to care about ordinary rich families. It was just Shinri Technology. To him, it wasn't interesting at all. Miss Fong and Miss Wang were stunned. Did they just see Gu Jingze? Indeed, with their status, they couldn't possibly be associated with Gu Jingze, so naturally, they didn't know him. Initially, they thought that Lin Che looked good in that outfit and wanted it, but now they had offended someone because of it. Now, none of them were interested in the clothes anymore. They only regretted that if they had known that it was Gu Jingze, they wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant. When the manager heard the lawyer's words, he was dumbfounded. This was bad. If Lawyer Song really wanted to sue her, she was dead meat. Chapter 990. Lin Che and Gu Jingze walked out together. When they were outside, Lin Che couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Seriously, we pretended to be cool just now. Look at his face. I'm dying of laughter. Gu Jingze said, don't come to this kind of place to buy clothes next time. Lin Che stuck out her tongue. I saw that they were all buying clothes here and made it seem like they were famous, so I wanted to try it out. This kind of hype usually attracts people who can't reach this level to spend money, Gu Jingze said. Lin Che said, yes. You have the best taste. Of course. Let's go. If you want to be grand, I'll take you somewhere else. Really? Of course. Otherwise, why would you stay here and quarrel with them? I think it's quite interesting. Looking at their faces at the end, I'm dying of laughter. Gu Jingze looked at her. Silly. Next time you encounter something like this, you can just call someone to teach them a lesson. That's so boring. Lin Che said, I just wanted to see what kind of show they had planned. Sigh. I didn't want to do anything at first. I just wanted to look at the clothes. Who knew that these people would be so disgusting? They had to belittle us, celebrities. Celebrities don't get in their way. We even add a lot of fun to their lives, don't we? Lin Che supported her head and said, that's why I decided to teach them a lesson. There's no harm in teaching them a lesson. That's right. Don't get bullied next time. Mrs. Gu doesn't need to be bullied. Of course. Lin Che smiled and hugged Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze took her to a shop. The service attitude was much better, and they all looked very professional. They helped Lin Che measure his height and weight. She also said that she would wear flats this time. Because she was pregnant, she didn't want to wear high heels, so the requirement for gowns were much higher. First of all, she had to wear it with an imposing manner and not be restricted by the flats. This kind of gown was actually not easy to make. So in the end, they still made a more elegant long dress. The designer explained the concept to Lin Che first. He looked at Lin Che's figure and said to her, Madam, with a figure like yours, you'll look cool no matter what you wear. However, to counter the special situation you're in, we've specially designed a semi-transparent gown for you. It feels like it's woven, but it's not made of yarn. Instead, it's a kind of fabric that has a draping feel. This way, the gown will look very smooth and it will stretch your body from top to bottom. The shape of your legs is very beautiful, and they'll definitely look very beautiful even if they're faintly visible. They're so long that even if you're wearing flat shoes, you won't be able to tell. Lin Che nodded. She didn't have much of an opinion towards these design concepts, but when she looked at the sketches drawn by the designers, she felt that they looked very good. She was just a little unconfident, as she said. The person in the sketch has such long legs. I can't bring out this kind of effect. The designer shook his head and said, How can that be? Madam, your figure is very good, and your legs are very long too. With your proportions, you can totally wear any kind of clothes. I like people with figures like yours the most. No matter how you design it, it'll look good. Lin Che pursed her lips and smiled. She couldn't tell if he was complimenting her or telling the truth. But even if it was a compliment, it was still quite pleasant to hear. After the design was finalized, Lin Che and Gu Jingze left together. They agreed to come back a few days later to see the sample. Because time was tight, and this client was the one they valued the most, the sample was ready in a few days. Lin Che went over to try on the gown. After putting it on, he realized that the designer was indeed very good. The gown fit him very well, and it felt very different when he wore it. The stretching effect was very obvious. Even though he was wearing flat shoes, Lin Che still looked very tall. Lin Che looked at herself in the mirror and was very satisfied. After walking out, everyone was stunned to see Lin Che. However, this was only a preliminary sample. The final product would be much more exquisite than this. Lin Shaye felt that customizing clothes was really troublesome. Because this occasion was rather important, he let it go. He didn't want to be so troublesome next time. Moreover, it seemed like it would cost a lot of money. Lin Shaye wasn't the only one in the entertainment industry who was preparing gowns. Actually, everyone was searching everywhere. Some people saw Lin Shaye's photo in the previous shop and thought that Lin Shaye's clothes were custom-made there. So, many people wanted to follow him and go there to have their clothes custom-made. At first, the shop staff looked down on Lin Shaye. She felt that Lin Shaye had never bought any clothes before. It seemed like she had bad taste. However, she didn't expect that so many people in the entertainment industry liked to imitate her. Just because of one photo of her, so many people came to ask about it. Naturally, the shop staff didn't explain the origin of the photo and what happened that day. Anyway, they were going to sell clothes. If they wanted to buy it, they would sell it. In the end, they couldn't blame them for not explaining. Anyway, these people didn't ask about it. Soon, it was the day of the Golden Name Awards. Gu Jingzhen knew that today was very important, but he was also worried that it would be too busy and her body wouldn't be able to take it. He followed Lin Shaye early in the morning and kept saying to Lin Shaye, "Eat something." Lin Shaye was a little nervous. Because she hadn't attended such an important ceremony for a long time, she kept taking deep breaths to calm herself down. Naturally, she couldn't eat more than a few mouthfuls. She felt that she was already full. She was worried that if she ate too much, her stomach would protrude and she wouldn't look good in the gown. She walked in front to wash up, and Gu Jingzhen nagged behind her. When Lin Shaye felt helpless, she turned back and took a bite. Early in the morning, the servants were amused by the couple's behavior. Lin Shaye finally got dressed and told Gu Jingzhen that he was going out. Gu Jingzhen said, "I'll ask my people to follow you. After all, they're quite experienced. Also, it's better to have more people today." Lin Shaye said, "Okay, then I'll send a few people." At this moment, Lin Shaye felt that it was better to listen to him, lest he kept nagging. Gu Jingzhen said, "You don't have to choose specially. Just ask Xiao San and the others to follow you." He was talking about the few people who had been following him. Usually, Gu Jingzhen had a lot of people around him, but there were a few who were very powerful. Because they were good at martial arts, experience, and skills, they were almost all-rounders. Therefore, Gu Jingzhen appreciated them very much and always kept them by his side. If he gave them to her now, "What about you? It's the same if I ask the others to follow me." "No, you can use them since it's convenient for you. It's not a particularly important thing for me." She was going to attend an award ceremony. It seemed a little too grand to bring the backbone of Gu's with her. Chapter 991. Gu Jingzhen said, "I don't have anything important to do today." Lin Shaye hugged him. "If those clan members hear that I went to attend the ceremony and even gave me the most capable people by your side, wouldn't they want to eat me up? They're not only going to protect you, but also the descendants of the Gu family. Even if the relatives find out, they won't be able to say anything." He lowered his head and touched her belly. Lin Shaye looked down and felt that it was true that Gu Jingzhen said, "Okay, I'll let them go with you." Lin Shaye had no choice but to agree. Otherwise, she was worried that Gu Jingzhen would talk about it for the whole day. Lin Shaye then went to the company first. Because he still had to make some plans at the company, he had to put on makeup and get ready. It was already afternoon. Lin Shaye saw that as an annual film festival, it included all the big celebrities in the entertainment industry. This year, the more active celebrities would all be attending. So, from the morning onwards, there had been a series of live broadcasts online and on television. They were talking about what was happening at the venue, what the fans were preparing for, and what the media was preparing for. There were also many guesses about the awards and the list of people who would attend the award ceremony. The people in the company were busy, and they were a little surprised to see so many people following Lin Shaye. However, Abai knew. She walked over and said, "Wow, these people look fierce." Lin Shaye said, "Yeah, the scars on their bodies can even be connected." "No way. I've seen them train." "It's true. They're all gunshot and knife wounds. I think it's a bit unfair for them to be my bodyguards." Ah, that's true. They're probably just blocking people today. Did Gu Jingza arrange it for you? Yeah. These were all the elites of the Gu family. It was really that. It was a waste to use them here. Lin Shay was resting and doing a facial mask to soothe his skin and put on makeup when he heard his phone ring. He picked it up and saw that it was Black Eagle. Thus she picked up the phone and said, "What?" "Yeah, I heard that you're going to the award ceremony today. I just saw the TV report." "Yeah, what's wrong? Is there anything I can help with?" "No, it's just an awards ceremony. What can you do for me? Break your competitor's leg or something like that." Lin Che hurriedly said, "Are you joking? It's just a joke. My sister wants to win with her own strength." "I know. How about this? Just tell me if you need anything. Don't force yourself if your body can't handle it." When Lin Che heard his voice, he actually felt quite warm in his heart. After all, there were many people who cared about him. Was that something to be happy about? Lin Che said, "All right, I got it. Nothing will happen." The Black Hawk said, "Yeah, do your best." Lin Che put down the phone. He felt that he was already very happy that he had such intentions. From the looks of it, other than this brother being a little scary, there was nothing else. Having a brother didn't seem to be that bad. Of course, she didn't know that it was too early for her to say that. Soon, the company started to put on Lin Che's makeup. After the makeup was done, the gown was sent over. The gown was a combination of wine red and red. It was a large area of wine red with some red lines inside. It looked very grand. There was a slender belt in the middle with a V-neck opening. The elongated effect was obvious. The fair skin on her chest looked very beautiful. Coupled with a diamond necklace, it was already very fitting. There were some water diamonds on the shoulders, embellishing the entire gown, giving it a more lively feeling. After Lin Che was done, she quickly got into the nanny car and drove to the venue. The few people stepped on it just in time because they were worried that Lin Che's body wouldn't be able to take it, so they didn't dare to make any mistakes. After all, the child in her stomach was so important. If there was a problem, Gu Jingzhou would flatten this place. However, they had overestimated the streets of B City during the peak hours. Halfway there, the car was blocked. Lin Che sat inside and felt a little nauseous. She didn't know if it was because she was too nervous, but her morning sickness today was stronger than before. Lin Che walked and stopped in the car. She felt even more uncomfortable, and her expression turned ugly. Ah Bai, who was at the side, was extremely anxious. She looked outside and said, "Why are there so many cars? Damn it. Why don't you ask your husband to send a helicopter?" Lin Che quickly said, "Are you crazy? It's a live broadcast. I'm going to be famous if it's broadcasted." There were so many people attending the event today. It would be too high profile to use a helicopter. Abai said, "Then what should we do now? We'll get there eventually. I'll get someone to see which road is less congested and contact them to see how the award ceremony is going." Okay. The few of them split up at the award ceremony. Because there were very few people who left late like Lin Che, there were many people who had already arrived at the surrounding area in advance. The red carpet was ready, and the red carpet show was about to begin. Yang Ling watched from behind. There were also people standing with her, waiting to walk the red carpet. The organizers hadn't informed them yet, so they were walking the red carpet together. So they stood together and waited. "Sigh, there are only so few people." Another person said, "All the big names have to come." "How is that possible? I just saw that there was a traffic jam outside. It's super congested today, especially around here. It's all fans. I can tell that it's your first time attending. A lot of people have been nearby for a long time, but they just didn't show up." They had to say that it was time before they hurriedly drove to look like they were rushing over. Actually, they had been staying in a nearby hotel for a long time. I looked around. None of the Best Actress nominees are here. None of the nominees are here either. They're all waiting for Lin Che to arrive first. They want to wait for Lin Che to arrive before coming in. After all, Lin Che is a big hit tonight. Yang Ling heard this and snorted. "I want to see if she can get it." Actually, Yang Ling had already heard the news because she had already sent people to follow Lin Che, so she knew that Lin Che was really stuck on the road today. She secretly sent a message to the little assistant and specially said, "Give them more tricks. Get someone to drive an electric car and cause a car accident on that road. The little assistant was so scared that she peed her pants, but she had no choice but to obey. At this time, Yang Ling didn't stay idle either. She immediately got someone to hype it up online, saying that Lin Che was acting like a big shot and was late for the Golden Awards. She snorted and thought to herself, "It's best if you come and accompany me. I'll see how you embarrass yourself then." If she didn't come at all and didn't win the award, then it would be even more believable. It could be said that she felt that she didn't win the award and didn't want to come at all. This was the first time she had seen such a big name. On the other side, Lin Che was indeed still stuck in the traffic. When she saw that the traffic outside seemed to have loosened a little, she thought that she would be able to get through soon. However, she suddenly heard that there was a car accident at the intersection ahead. Chapter 992. Everyone thought it was strange that there would be a car accident. However, there was indeed a car accident. The road ahead became even more congested, and it didn't move for a long time. The people in the car became even more anxious. If they were late for such a big awards ceremony, that wouldn't be fun. Lin Che was sitting in the car anxiously when he suddenly saw a rumbling sound approaching from the queue of cars. Many people were looking back to see what was happening in front of them. The people in Lin Che's nanny car also looked over. Behind him, a black motorcycle flew over like it was flying. It bypassed the traffic and came to the side of the car. There were people exclaiming from behind. Who was this? He was driving so fast and wasn't afraid of a car accident. He was crazy. However, the car stopped next to Lin Che's car. The person wearing the helmet pulled it up. She saw Black Hawk's angular face, which looked evil. He was looking at her, and there was a hint of arrogance on his arrogant face, as if he was not afraid of the heavens or the earth. Lin Che stared at him through the window, speechlessly. You, why are you here?" Black Eagle held onto the car handsomely. "Didn't I say that I would help you if you needed anything? I saw that you were stuck here, so I came to pick you up." I covered her mouth. Everyone in the car looked at him in shock. Looking at his motorcycle, they felt that he was a hero saving a damsel in distress. He was so handsome, suddenly appearing in front of everyone and driving a motorcycle. He looked so cool. Who is this? Oh my God, he's so handsome. He looks so bad. Women don't like bad men. Lin Che looked at his car. No way he's driving this. How else do you think we can get out? Fly out? Black Eagle patted the car. Lin Che was really helpless. He thought for a while and couldn't think of any other way, so he quickly got off. "Forget it. I'll take his car first. You guys come later." "No way your body." I was still a little worried. Gujing's people were also a little worried and wanted to surround them. Black Eagle said directly, "All right, I'll take responsibility if anything happens. I'm her brother. How could I hurt her?" Lin Che said, all right. I'm leaving first. It'll really be late." She got out of the car, looked at the heavy motorcycle, and directly stepped on it. The Black Hawk said, "Sit tight. We're leaving. Let's go." The Black Hawk started the car. By watching the car, praying in her heart that nothing would happen. If something really happened, Gu Jingzhou would definitely not let them go. Lin Che sat in the car, wearing a thick down jacket. However, when the wind blew, the hat on his head fell off quickly. Someone at the side saw her and immediately recognized who she was. "Look, that's Lin Che," he exclaimed. The people on the street, who were originally uncomfortable with the traffic jam, all raised their heads and looked out. They saw Lin Che sitting in the car. The car bypassed the traffic like the wind and directly drove out. Everyone's gazes also followed the direction of her car. He didn't expect to see a celebrity in a traffic jam. Unfortunately, the car passed by in an instant. The speed of the car was too fast. Even if they wanted to capture anything, they could only capture some images. At the venue, the red carpet show was about to begin. Everyone was checking the list, but they saw that Lin Che hadn't arrived yet. They were anxious, but they didn't know who to contact. At that moment, someone shouted from outside, "There's a motorcycle coming." Everyone turned their heads to look. A heavy motorcycle was very conspicuous in the crowd. Everyone was still wondering who it was when they saw the car quickly make a turn and directly stop in the middle of the crowd. Hey, you can't barge in here. The security guards quickly surrounded them. Everyone saw Lin Che jump down from the back seat of the car, put down the hat on his head, smoothed his messy hair, and said to everyone, "It's me, it's me." These people saw that it was Lin Che. After Lin Che came down, she directly took off her coat, revealing the flowing skirt inside. She casually threw the coat to the Black Hawk. The Black Hawk also took off the helmet on his head. Everyone then began to pay attention to this handsome man. Dressed in a black leather suit, he was really neat. He looked like a character who had walked out of a comic book. Every line of his was so prominent. As he smiled, the corners of his mouth revealed a hint of arrogance. His eyes shone with arrogance, making people unable to take their eyes off him for a moment. Lin Che looked at the Black Hawk. "Thank you." The Black Hawk said, "All right, you can go in first." The Black Hawk gave her a push. Lin Che looked at him with a smile. She wanted to say something, but felt that it was too pretentious. In the end, she just scratched her head and walked in first. At this moment, she suddenly felt that having an older brother was really different. Although he was a little embarrassed to help, it wasn't the kind of embarrassment that an outsider would feel. There was an element of matter-of-fact in it. After all, he was different from a stranger or an ordinary friend. She ran in warmly. Seeing that the staff had come to help, she naturally tidied up her hair. The people at the side looked behind them curiously and asked Lin Che, "Wow, is that a new artist from your company on a bike?" Lin Che said, No. Who is that? He's so handsome. Isn't he an artist?" Lin Che said, "Of course not. He's just here to help." Because he was here to help Lin Che, they naturally thought that he was from Lin Che's company. Since he was from her company, it was very likely that he was an artist. So it was natural that the staff at the side would think that way. However, although he was handsome, he really didn't look like someone who could be an artist. He looked too domineering and not very malleable. He wasn't like Gu Jingze, who was so handsome that even God would be enraged. Moreover, he was used to being cold and aloof. In comparison, he was more malleable and more suitable to be an artist. Lin Che is here. Yang Ling didn't expect Lin Che to arrive so quickly. Once Lin Che arrived, he immediately attracted a lot of attention. The reporters had been waiting for a long time. They had been wondering how big the female lead candidate was and whether she would really not come. However, at this moment, Lin Che and Nan Gongyu had already met up and were preparing to walk on the red carpet together. Everyone saw Lin Che let down his slightly messy hair, and the lines of his body were immediately revealed. His chest was bigger than before, probably a cup, and his waistline was even slimmer. He looked very charming, and his aura was faintly discernible. He didn't need anyone to set him off, and just standing there was enough to attract everyone's attention. Chapter 993. Everyone looked at Lin Che and couldn't help but feel a little strange. Did Lin Che get breast implants? It looks like it. Why else would her figure look so good all of a sudden? This outfit isn't bad. Did you buy it from that store? Why didn't I see it at the time? It really doesn't look like her family standard. Everyone was talking about it when they saw that Lin Che was already standing on the red carpet. Although she had come in a hurry, she still looked very comfortable. She entered the red carpet with the producer of her movie and accompanied by Nan Gongyu. The two of them could be considered a handsome man and a beautiful woman. When they entered, they were surrounded by the reporters. The reporter looked at Lin Che and asked, "Are you confident about winning the award this time?" Lin Che looked at Nan Gongyu and knew that he had always been an arrogant person who didn't mince his words. Hence, she pushed the matter to him and said, "Our director said that you have to have confidence in our movie. After all, it took a lot of effort to film it." Nan Gongyu glared at her, but didn't look angry at her at all. He just smiled and said, "She's right. I did say that." The reporters and the people present all laughed together. The introductory panel had already introduced their movie. The box office earnings of Who Am I had already reached 10 trillion yuan. It was the record breaker for the domestic 2D movie box office earnings. Moreover, The movie was still being screened, so the box office earnings record was constantly being broken. This kind of introduction was enough to show how awesome this movie was. It was the most popular movie among all the movies that had participated in it. Following this introduction, the few people on the red carpet seemed to be in high spirits. They looked like great generals. A wave of grandeur swept over and caused the entire place to be in an uproar. Everyone was waiting to see what kind of results this dark horse film would achieve at this year's Golden Awards. The celebrities were naturally very envious. It wasn't easy to film a good movie, especially such a good and popular one. Some people might not even come across one in their entire lives, but Lin Che was lucky. Hence, at this moment, under the spotlight, she looked very at ease. Because she had a movie to prove her worth, she was very calm on this red carpet. Everyone was also very envious of the way these reporters chased after her. Because there was news about her, she would be chased after. And an artist relied on this kind of exposure and topic to survive. Lin Che sat down with the producer, and only then did he see Yang Ling enter. She had purposely chosen a later time, because the later the artists appeared, the higher their status was. She had to wait until this time to enter. She was dressed in a white outfit. At first glance, it looked ordinary, but upon closer inspection, it was a see-through outfit. She was barely wearing anything inside. Only her breasts were stuck to her. Everyone exclaimed in surprise, and all the cameras immediately pointed over. She was so daring. Why didn't she just strip naked? There was a commotion outside. Everyone was discussing Yang Ling's clothes. Even the people who walked the red carpet with her didn't know what she was wearing. Because he was wearing a jacket just now, he only took it off when he walked the red carpet. All of a sudden, all the topics were snatched away by the people who walked together. All the reporters didn't care about them anymore. They only had their eyes fixed on Yang Ling. Lin Che looked over. Before he could figure out what was going on, he suddenly heard someone beside him say, "Wow, this Yang Ling is too daring. Isn't he afraid of being scolded? She's here to steal the limelight. If this goes on, she'll definitely be the most talked about person on the red carpet tomorrow." Only then did Lin Che notice what was different about this seemingly ordinary outfit. It turned out to be a see-through outfit. She was indeed daring. "Wow, she's going all out," Lin Che said. "I've really lost." Nangong had already seen it from aside. He smiled and shook his head. "It wasn't easy to get myself here, so of course I have to give it my all." "You don't have to. You have the ability, and you have the movie." Lin Che turned his head and said, If I'm here to accompany them today, I might really make the headlines tomorrow. The title will be, Nominated Twice, Accompanied Twice. Will I become the next Shaoli? Will I start my journey of accompanying them for years to come? Are you really that unconfident? Hey, the movie is selling so well. How can you be so unconfident? Okay. I have confidence, okay? Lin Che said quickly. However, her palms were indeed sweaty, especially when she saw that the award ceremony was about to start. She felt nervous too. If it was her, what would she say? If it wasn't her, what expression would she make? Would she be able to smile? Or would she not be able to make an expression at all? No, even if it wasn't her, she had to look carefree. It would be a live broadcast, and their faces would appear on the screen. She couldn't embarrass herself. Just then, Yang Ling finally came down. She came over with a few producers. When she saw Lin Che, she smiled slightly, looking extremely sarcastic. "Sorry, I might have to steal your headlines, but don't worry. If you don't have anything to show for it, I'll help you make the headlines." Lin Che sneered and looked at Yang Ling. "Thank you. Whether I win an award or not, I'm the one nominated for the female lead role today. I'm here to represent my movie, so it doesn't matter if I win an award or not." Yang Ling narrowed her eyes and looked at her. Was she mocking Yang Ling for not having any movies and deliberately trying to gain popularity? Yang Ling looked at Lin Che coldly. If it wasn't for Gu Jingze, she wouldn't have such good resources. Lin Che was good at bewitching people, which was why she was protected everywhere. Unlike her, who thought of ways to rely on her own ability to become famous, Lin Che played with people's hearts. Actually, Yang Ling had always been very jealous of Lin Che. She was jealous that when she left, she had disappeared without a trace. How could she return to being a popular figure so quickly? She was about to catch up to her, but she didn't expect her to come back. Yang Ling, who was originally working hard, suddenly became Lin Che's foil. Yang Ling felt that her plastic surgery wasn't any worse than hers. In fact, she even looked better than her. But was looks useless? Otherwise, why was Lin Che's luck always on her side, even though she had such a beautiful look? She then looked at Nan Gongyu. How could this kind of director be worthy of being a director? Gu Jingze must have secretly given him some benefits, or Lin Che had already slept with him in secret. That was why he was so nice to Lin Che, custom-made such a good role for Lin Che, allowed her to participate in the filming of their movie as soon as she came back, and even eagerly helped her apply for an Academy Award. Why did such a first-class director surround her? Why did she get all the good movie scripts? This was unfair in the first place. Chapter 994. Yang Ling looked at Nan Gongyu and said, "Director Nan Gong, it's an honor to have the opportunity to meet you here." She had never seen Nan Gongyu before because they were not in the same industry and no one had introduced him to her. Nan Gongyu was famous for being picky and had an eccentric personality. He liked the artistic style of the things he filmed, so the actors he fancied were basically the same. Yang Ling had always taken the sexy route, so naturally, she was not compatible with him. But now, after this movie, Nan Gongyu's status had risen a lot. He was no longer an artistic director. He had suddenly become a top director and joined the Billion Club. In the future, his resources would definitely be richer. Having a relationship with such a director and helping him in filming in the future, his status would be completely different. However, Nan Gongyu only looked at Yang Ling, then turned his head away indifferently, letting out a disdainful grunt through his nostrils. "I didn't expect to see you at the Golden Awards either." Nan Gongyu looked at her contemptuously. His meaning was very clear. He felt that she was not worthy of the Golden Name Awards. Yang Ling's face darkened. In front of so many people, everyone heard it. They also saw Nan Gongyu straightforward disdain. In an instant, Yang Ling lost all her face and her face darkened. She could not bring herself to lose face. She stood there, her face alternating between dark and bright like a color palette. After a while, she glared at Lin Che and snorted loudly. She arrogantly walked past the two of them, as if she did not see the mocking looks of the people around her. But her heart was already exploding. This Nan Gongyu was too disrespectful. Lin Che glanced in Yang Ling's direction and said to Nan Gongyu, "It's easy to offend someone in front of so many people." Nan Gongyu said, "Do you think I'm afraid of offending someone like this?" Lin Che looked at him and felt that this man's hatred for evil was quite interesting. She liked this kind of friend. Yang Ling glared at Lin Che the whole way. The distance between the two of them was not close. Because her movie was too famous, the organizers had arranged for her to be seated closer to the front so that the cameras could capture her facial expressions at any time. And Yang Ling was slightly further back because her movie was indeed not as popular as others. Yang Ling looked at Nan Gongyu chatting cheerfully with Lin Che, completely different from the cold expression he had when facing him just now. For a moment, he felt even more infuriated. Why were all these men so nice to Lin Che? At this time, the awards ceremony began in front of them. The grand award ceremony was broadcasted live on television and on the internet. The netizens responded enthusiastically, and they could not help but start discussing the celebrities' red carpet looks just now. Everyone had different opinions about Yang Ling's appearance, but Yang Ling had indeed achieved her goal. She had gained a lot of attention in an instant, leaving many women in the dust. They were cursing her on the surface, but they were envious in their hearts. On the other hand, Lin Che's clothes were very elegant, giving people the feeling that she had the demeanor of a noble. She was different from Yang Ling, who relied on his clothes to stand out. At the scene, Lin Che had long since put away his phone. He wasn't in the mood to watch. The awards came out one after another. Their movie also won a few awards in terms of music, screenwriting, and scene changes. Later, when the Best Supporting Actress came out, Yang Ling indeed went up to receive the award, which made people sigh. Yang Ling cried uncontrollably, looking very dramatic. She gave a long speech of thanks to everyone, making Lin Che feel as if he was watching a television show. When Yang Ling came down, she deliberately waved the little golden figurine in front of Lin Che. Lin Che pretended not to see it, but when he looked at the stage, he was indeed looking forward to it. After all, it was already the second time that she was nominated. Last time, it was obvious because Mu Firen was at the peak of her popularity and no one could beat her. But it was different this time. The few nominees were evenly matched, and anyone could win. Therefore, the scene was even more enthusiastic. The closer it was to the final award, the more nervous everyone was, because it was too possible for the nominees to win. Nan Gongyu looked at Lin Che, who was clenching his fists tightly. He smiled and said, "Don't be nervous. What are you nervous about?" Lin Che glared at him. "Of course you won't be nervous if it's not you. I didn't get the Best Director award just now, but that's it." Because those directors are all national treasures. How could they give it to you? If you want to get it, you'll have to endure for a few more years. Lin Che was nervous and her tongue was sharp, but because she was familiar with Nan Gongyu, she knew that he wouldn't get angry over this, so she didn't have to think when she said it. As expected, Nan Gongyu laughed and said, "Then why are you so nervous? It's fine if it's not your turn. Hey, look, isn't that your husband over there?" Lin Che was stunned. She raised her head and couldn't help but look into the distance. She looked around but didn't see anything. It was still Nan Gongyu who helplessly pulled her to look up. "Silly, he's up there." Lin Che was stunned again. She raised her head and looked up. Only then did she remember that this circular venue had 2 levels. The upper level was sealed off, and no one was allowed to go up, because the lower level was enough. In order to look good during filming, the organizers didn't want the upper level to look scattered. There wasn't much of an audience here. It was basically the filmmakers who judged the awards themselves. Because there were a lot of fans, they were all stopped outside. There were only some leaders and people who were related to them inside. But Gu Jingze had actually run up there. Lin Che looked carefully, afraid that she was seeing things. But there was no mistaking it. That was her husband. He was wearing a dark gray, casual suit. His hands were in front of him as he stood there. There was a hint of a smile in his devilishly charming eyes. Even from such a distance, he seemed to be looking at her. He was looking at her. Lin Che seemed to be attracted by his pitch-black gaze. Suddenly, she didn't think about anything else. She just felt that he was actually here. He didn't even tell her before he came over. Seriously, was it because he wanted to be with her? So he came here secretly? Nan Gongyu saw that her expression was a lot better. He couldn't help but turn back to look. It seemed that he really was her husband. Nan Gongyu said, "Who exactly is your husband?" What?" Lin Che asked curiously. Nan Gongyu said, "He can actually run over there." Was it a place where people without an invitation, status, or identity could go? This was the biggest film award in the country. The management was very strict. The outside was surrounded by armed police, and the special forces were on duty, afraid that something would go wrong. And this man, just like that, gracefully stood on top of no one. Chapter 995. Lin Che said, "What did you say?" At this moment, the MC was already speaking. The following awards are getting more and more exciting. Next up, the Best Actress and Best Actor will be announced. Everyone, hold your breath. Of course, this would receive more attention than the Best Director award, because it would be a star with millions of fans. And celebrities had always received more attention than directors. Therefore, the scene immediately became lively, and the tense atmosphere lingered around everyone. Lin Che didn't have time to think about anything else. She just looked at the front. The 5 nominees had their faces projected on the screen. Lin Che was among them. Lin Che smiled embarrassedly. Looking at herself on the screen, she felt very awkward. She just wanted this award to end quickly. She didn't want to face such an occasion again. She was too nervous. The guest presenter had already gone on stage. Lin Che looked ahead. She felt that she couldn't hear the guest presenters teasing anymore. She could only clench her fists and look ahead. She looked up at Gu Jingze, and took a deep breath. Then she heard the guest presenter deliberately beating around the bush. The winner this time is a bit surprising. Yeah, but it's reasonable. That's right, every nominated actor is very outstanding. So it's surprising, but it's also reasonable. So who is the winner? The winner of the Best Actress is Lin Shaye. Lin Shaye's name was suddenly projected on the screen. Her frozen face also flashed on the big screen. The atmosphere became very lively. Lin Shaye stood there, stunned for a long time. Only then did Nan Gongyu say, "Hurry up and get up." Lin Shaye stood up after being stunned for a while. She looked ahead excitedly. The people around her had already stood up to congratulate her. She shook hands and hugged them numbly, but she felt that her heart was beating so fast that she couldn't calm down. A dark horse movie with a dark horse female lead. The character of Su Qinghuan is bad and a ruffian. She has cheated countless people, but in the end, she fell into her own trap. This can be said to be the best black humor in life. As for the actress, Lin Shaye, she vividly portrayed this seemingly brilliant yet despairing character in the movie. What is unforgettable is that she should have been full of life, but her empty smile is always there. It is as if she has interpreted life. Just like in a movie, everything depends on acting skills. The hall reverberated with comments about Lin Shaye. As Lin Shaye walked onto the stage to the music, she looked down. She truly felt that no amount of preparation would be of any use at this time. Because he was too nervous, he only felt that his head was full, and he couldn't think at all. The presenter smiled and handed the little golden figurine to her. Lin Shaye held the heavy trophy in his hands. He raised his head and looked down, feeling a myriad of emotions. "Thank you. Thank everyone for your recognition of me. I came back here because I needed recognition. Thank you everyone for helping me." Lin Shaye felt that she had completely forgotten the script she had memorized. At this moment, she just looked at the big lights in front of her and said, randomly, "Thank you to my family. Thank you to them who have always supported me behind my back. It was them who gave me an unlimited life and allowed me to do what I like. Thank the director. Thank the staff around me. Thank everyone who has worked hard for this movie. This award is mine, and it is also yours. It is the result of everyone's hard work. I still remember when I couldn't get into the right state of mind while filming, everyone wanted to cry because of me. I still remember when I quarreled with the director every day, you all stood by my side. I also still remember when we were scolded by the director together, we all badmouthed the director together behind his back." This doesn't seem like it should be said here, right? Everyone burst into laughter. On the screen, the angry face of the director, Nan Gongyu, appeared. Everyone felt that it was even more interesting. They looked at Nan Gongyu and then looked at Lin Shaye in front of them. Lin Shaye raised her head and raised her trophy. At this moment, the man she loved stood in front of her, holding the trophy that she wanted. Outside, there were people who loved her, and in her belly Dot and her second child with Gu Jingze. She felt that she was really lucky and very happy. This feeling of satisfaction almost made her swell up. Lin Shaye smiled. She felt that all the lights were shining on her, making her feel hot and excited. And in the entire audience, she was indeed the main character at this moment, the best female lead. Everyone looked at Lin Shaye enviously. Although they knew that it could be her, if it really was her, many people felt sour in their hearts. She was really too lucky to have met such a good role as soon as she came back. Naturally, most people would think this way, but they didn't think about how hard she had worked in exchange for this kind of luck. After she was slandered and kicked out of the cast, she worked hard to use her acting skills to let Nan Gongyu see her. It was also during the filming that she continuously practiced with Nan Gongyu, and only then did she have the later movies. Of course, everyone couldn't see the hard work behind these scenes. All they could see was her radiance in the eyes of everyone at this moment. At this moment, Gu Jingze was also standing at the top, looking in her direction. His little woman had grown up, but she would always be his little woman. However, under the lights, her proud look was even more dazzling. Looking at the envious looks of the people next to him, he shook his head and thought to himself that she was too perfect, but it was also troublesome. When the time came, He didn't know how many eyes would be staring at her, and how many covetous eyes would be looking at her. Thinking of this, he felt uncomfortable, but he was extremely proud that she could realize her dream and do what she liked. He thought of the girl who had stood in front of him in a sloppy manner, so young and so stubborn. At that time, she was still an unknown minor character, but now, under his eyes, she had grown into a movie queen. Below, after Lin Che came down, everyone's congratulatory words were still heard. Later on, the Best Male Lead Award was won by another movie with a modern theme. And at the end, Nan Gongyu's name was also called for the best film. Because the best film was a group award, everyone agreed to go on stage together. The entire crew of 7 or 8 people went up together, and Lin Che also went up together. Because she was the female lead, she stood next to Nan Gongyu. The microphone was placed in Nan Gongyu's hand. He smiled and said, "Well, let me say this first. I've remembered all the staff members who scolded me behind my back when I quarreled with Lin Che and the crew." The moment he came up, everyone burst out laughing. Lin Che also covered her mouth and snickered, making everyone unable to help but laugh. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.